Chapter 3:11. At a place on the border between the Donchi state and the southern Marsh state, 2 youths and a little monkey were standing beside a cliff, looking at the shocking scene in front of them with their mouths agape. The cliff under their feet was extremely long, and both ends seemed to extend endlessly. It was impossible to see the end of the cliff with the naked eye. Hundreds of feet below the cliff was a vast and boundless forest swamp. The trees inside were sometimes dense and sometimes sparse, like stars decorating a green swamp lake. The lush branches were reflected on the mirror-like water surface, forming a beautiful picture with the blue sky that they had never seen before in the Wei Kingdom. 1 or 2 brown otters would appear from time to time in the bright water, holding fat fish in their mouths. In the dense forest in the distance, there were even fierce roars coming from afar. The southern Marsh state is right in front. Such a boundless swamp is unheard of in the Wei Kingdom. This is really an eye-opener. Huang Xiaoyun looked at the scene in front of him with his eyes wide open and smacked his lips. Little Pan Yen, and even little Jean, nodded in agreement with this statement. Little Pan Yen looked at an unknown bird gliding on the green swamp lake below and said casually, "Oh right, senior brother, why isn't Master here yet? We've been waiting for a while." Huang Xiaoyun was stunned when he heard that. His face was a little pale as he stammered, "I almost forgot. Master told me to wait for his voice transmission talisman before we leave the market. And in my excitement, I didn't wait for Master's voice transmission talisman and came out directly." Little Pan Yen asked strangely, "Then let's wait here for a while. Even if Master is cultivating, he won't cultivate for too long." "I'm afraid we can't wait that long," Huang Xiaoyun said worriedly with an anxious expression. In his panic, he did not notice Xiao Jin's indifferent expression. At this moment, 2 flying boats flew over from afar. They were not slow. Huang Xiaoyun, who had dealt with Foundation establishment cultivators before, could tell at a glance that this was the speed of a Foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, their cultivation was definitely above the early stage of Foundation establishment. Thinking of his performance in the market 2 days ago, Huang Xiaoyun's eyes dimmed and he muttered, "I was careless. I should have waited for Master's reply. Based on what I showed, it's very likely that it's a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator." Soon, the 2 figures emitting powerful auras, under Pan Yan's curious gaze, landed about 7 to 8 feet in front of them. One of them was a short man with shifty eyes and a mustache. He took a careful look at Huang Xiaoyun's group. "Old of old Taoist," he said. And that little." The one called Old of Old Taoist was the middle-aged Taoist priest beside him. He wore a Taoist robe and had a sanctimonious expression. The Taoist priest shook his head and said, "Old Zhu, don't you understand my disciple? He's extremely greedy. He definitely won't deceive us when it comes to matters of profit. As for whether or not they have a large amount of spirit stones and magic tools, we'll know once we kill them. As for this little monkey, even if it's a 3rd-grade demon beast, it's definitely not a match for us 2 middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivators." Huang Xiaoyun heard the words of the 2 middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivators and let out a sigh of relief. He looked at Xiao Jin's extremely calm monkey face and revealed an expression of understanding. "I almost forgot. If there's a strong opponent, eldest senior brother will definitely remind me. I heard from second senior brother that eldest senior brother can use magic tools and is much stronger than ordinary 2nd-grade demon beast. Dealing with these 2 greedy middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivators shouldn't be a problem at all." Just as Huang Xiaoyun was thinking and planning to give the magic tools in his storage bag to Xiao Jin, little Pan Yen suddenly said, "Hey, why do you 2 want to kill us? We have no enmity with you." When Huang Xiaoyun heard Pan Yan's words, his hand that was reaching for his storage bag paused. A black line seemed to flash across his forehead and his expression was somewhat awkward. The two middle stage foundation establishment cultivators opposite him were also stunned. Then, under little Pan Yan's baffled gaze, they burst into laughter. Pan Yan's face was full of confusion. "What are you laughing at?" The Taoist priest took a long time to recover. He said to the dignified little Pan Yan, "Little brat, you're just a mortal. You actually dare to speak to us foundation establishment cultivators like this. This courage is not bad, much stronger than when I was young. However, your intelligence is worrying. As for why, blame it on the fact that you don't understand the principle of not showing off your wealth. Old Taoist Fong, what's the point of chatting with a mortal like him? Hurry up and kill them." Hey, what did I just see? A middle-stage Qi refining brat actually dares to show off his magic tools to foundation establishment cultivators. This is a level 1 spiritual magic tool. For a Qi refining cultivator to use it, it's really a waste of natural resources. The man surnamed Zhu had a strange expression on his face as he watched Huang Xiaoyun take out 2 long black rods. But when he saw that the rods were grade 1 spiritual immortal treasures, his eyes lit up with greed. Huang Xiaoyun said, "I'm definitely not your match. However, these magic tools are not for me to use." As soon as he finished speaking, he threw the matchless staff that Lu Kuan had specially placed on his body forward. "Eldest senior brother, take the staff." The two cultivators' expressions changed. They saw the little monkey that they thought was an ordinary wild beast suddenly expand. At the same time, a strong demonic aura rushed towards them. Not good! A level 2 demonic beast. At the same time, the ape jumped, grabbed the 2 staffs in the air, and scuttled towards the 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators. Sensing the demonic aura on the ape's body, and seeing its red and excited eyes, old Taoist Fong and the man surnamed Zhu hurriedly summoned their own magic tools and blocked this extremely strange demonic monkey that could use magic tools. Dang, dang, dang! The sound of magic tools colliding could be heard. Huang Xiaoyun stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the mighty Xiao Jin. He was still worried and looked around cautiously. He didn't think that there would only be 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators. Perhaps there would be more coming. Previously, in the southeast market square, his muscles and nerves had sensed that he had been targeted by at least 3 groups of people. Huang Xiaoyun could only hope that this great eldest senior brother could easily determine the number of cultivators coming. At this moment, little Pan Yan's face was full of confusion. He seemed to not see the scene in front of him and muttered to himself. It seemed that his heart was not calm. Just as Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yan were pondering, the 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators' expressions became more and more serious. Some sweat even appeared on their foreheads. Damn it, how is this a level 2 demonic beast? Its attack power is no different from a level 3 demonic beast. My weapon is only a level 1 spiritual immortal treasure. Every time I hit it, it was repelled by this monkey's staff. Old Zhu, the stronger this monkey is, the more it means that the little brat must have more good things on him. You saw it just now. He casually took out 2 level 1 spiritual immortal treasures. Chapter 312. When Xiao Jin saw that the man surnamed Zhu was a little distracted, his red eyes suddenly lit up. He spun the 2 sticks in his hands and exploded with an even stronger force, sending the opponent's 2 Dharma artifacts flying again. Then, under the incredulous gazes of the 2 mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators, he combined the 2 sticks into one, and an even larger pitch-black stick appeared in his hands. At the same time, a yellow light flashed under Xiao Jin's feet, and his speed increased explosively. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the man surnamed Zhu. That extremely ferocious demonic aura made the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator break out in cold sweat. He hurriedly locked onto a Dharma artifact in his storage bag. Boom! Before he could summon his Dharma artifact, The giant stick burning with yellow demonic fire bombarded the man surnamed Zhu's shield, breaking the shield that was not considered solid. Then, the demonic fire on the stick followed the momentum and burned the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator into ashes. Then, under the control of Xiao Jin, the unparalleled giant stick swept horizontally and hit the defensive talisman that had just been cast on old Daoist Fang's body. Clang! There was a loud sound. The old Daoist priest was sent flying along with his shield. Fortunately, he used an intermediate-level talisman. Although it was extremely dim, it was not broken. Just as old Daoist Fang was channeling his Dharma powers and trying to control the Dharma artifacts in the distance to return to help, Xiao Jin had already split the giant sticks into two and held one in each hand. A yellow light flashed under his feet as he followed old Daoist Fang closely. His muscular arms exploded with lightning speed and attacked old Daoist Fang's defensive shield with the two stick. Bang bang bang! Waves of tremors came from the two giant black sticks, causing the old Daoist priest's qi and blood to churn. His Dharma powers and divine sense were the same. Under such interference, the Dharma artifacts in the distance were flying shakily and could not come over to defend in a short period of time. Bang! In just a few breaths of time, under Xiao Jin's powerful and fast attacks, old Daoist Fang's mid-level defensive barrier had long been broken. The mid-level foundation establishment barrier that he had supported with all his strength also gradually dimmed. Xiao Jin had followed Lu Kuan for so many years, so he didn't lack any combat experience as a body cultivator. He made good use of the body cultivator's surprise and variety of close-range combat method. In a short period of time, he eliminated one foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator and suppressed the other to the point of imminent danger. Looking at old Daoist Fang, who was trying his best to take out the next Dharma artifact, Xiao Jin clasped his hands together, and the huge pitch-black rod appeared once again. Old Daoist Fang, along with his dimmed shield, was beaten beyond recognition. He fell to the ground and died. But at this moment, Xiao Jin's ears twitched and a red light flashed in its eyes. It suddenly separated the unparalleled rod and crossed the two rods in front of its body. A huge square-shaped seal appeared out of thin air. It was imbued with a terrifying might as it crashed into Xiao Jin, who had just assumed a defensive posture. Boom! Under this stone seal, the ape was easily sent flying, just like old Daoist Fang. It landed not far away from Huang Xiaoyun and the others. Xiao Jin half-knelt on the ground. Its arms were trembling slightly, and the unparalleled rod fell to the ground. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of its mouth as it stared at the huge stone seal. Its face was full of shock and bewilderment. With its spiritual ear, it had already heard the two cultivators approaching. Xiao Jin relied on its ability to hear the movements of its opponents and ignored them. Instead, it used all its strength to kill the two mid-level foundation establishment middle-stage cultivators. However, it didn't expect the power of the two cultivators' Dharma seals to be so terrifying that it was injured in one blow. Under Xiao Jin's gaze, the Dharma seal split into two slightly smaller seals and landed in front of the two men in purple robes. The young man looked at Xiao Jin, who was vomiting blood, and frowned. "Father, what kind of demonic beast is this? It's only at the second level." Under the attack of the overturning sky seal, it was only injured but not killed. The other middle-aged man, who looked very similar to him, chuckled. "We used a set of level 3 Dharma artifacts, and the overturning sky seal with powerful attack power, but we still couldn't kill it. This means that its physical body and fur are definitely extraordinary. It's definitely worth more spirit stones." When Huang Xiaoyun heard the words, set of level 3 Dharma artifacts, his heart skipped a beat. He cursed inwardly. Those who could use a set of level 3 Dharma artifacts were definitely cultivators in the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. The two people in front of him were father and son. The timing of the attack was just right when his eldest senior brother was exhausted. If it wasn't for the giant rod blocking a portion of the power, his eldest senior brother's injuries would have been even more serious. Then, Huang Xiaoyun saw Xiao Jin's unflustered expression. He was delighted. Eldest senior brother and master have a blood connection. At this moment, he's not flustered at all. Could it be that master is about to arrive? The middle-aged man looked at Xiao Jin, who was half kneeling on the ground, and said coldly, "Son, kill them all. Even if that brat doesn't have that many spirit stones, this demonic beast is already worth it." After saying that, the father and son's bodies shone with a bright light. The rich magic power of the late stage of the Foundation establishment stage was stimulated. The two small stone seals gradually grew bigger and merged together to become the overturning sky seal. A powerful spiritual pressure was emitted. But at this moment an extremely fast spirit shuttle appeared in the distant sky. It was flying rapidly towards them, causing the father and son to stop. A cultivator in the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage? A mere early stage of the Foundation establishment stage dares to pull a tooth from the tiger's mouth. The young man suddenly rubbed his eyes and said doubtfully, "Father, are my eyes playing tricks on me? That person doesn't seem to have a flying Dharma artifact?" "Impossible, I clearly saw a spirit shuttle flying over just now." The middle-aged man looked carefully and found that this cultivator did not have a spirit shuttle. His whole body seemed to be flying towards them by the inertia of flight. The middle-aged man sneered, "Since this person is courting death, it's not up to us, son." Understood. The father and son really cooperated with each other tacitly. The overturning sky seal that was about to press down on the little monkey changed direction and blocked in front of the father and son. The overturning sky seal that was about 10 feet in size looked indestructible, as solid as the earth. And the human who was about to fall was like a small and stupid creature, seeking his own death in front of this powerful Dharma artifact. Foundation establishment stage cultivators were unable to fly in the air. The father and son were even imagining that this person would be smashed into a meat patty by the overturning sky seal or directly turned into ashes. Their faces began to show a somewhat bloodthirsty smile, and their expressions were exactly the same. At the same time, the small figure in the air suddenly emitted a purple light and his speed increased. At the same time, a purple thunder hammer appeared in his hand. Like an ant trying to shake a tree, he crashed into the overturning sky seal that was much larger than him. Boom! Not waiting for the bloodthirsty expression on the father and son's face to take shape, an amazing force came out of the overturning sky seal. Then this seemingly huge overturning sky seal, as if it was pressed down by a giant hand, without any resistance, it was pushed back towards the master behind it. At the same time, a glaring purple light surged out, wrapping the overturning sky seal. Lightning and sparks wantonly, dazzling to the extreme. At this moment the overturning sky seal divided into two small seals that fell to the ground, revealing the figures of the father and son. Only to see them vomiting blood, their bodies charred black, lying on the ground unable to move, a dim Dharma chi shield outside their body. Just when the situation reversed, they had just propped up the Dharma chi shield, which was full of their own Dharma chi, and was pressed down by the overturning sky seal. At the same time, the terrifying brute force of the overturning sky seal shattered all the bones in their body. If it were not for the existence of the fluctuations of the spiritual sense and the weak Dharma chi shield, the father and son would look like dead people. And the previously seemingly small figure calmly landed on the ground, a purple light flashed under his feet, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared beside the father and son, and the huge purple thunder hammer hammered down. Pung pung pung. Bursts of dust rose on the ground. Huang Xiaoyun and the others felt the vibration of the ground, and in their hearts they could not help but mourn for the late Foundation establishment stage father and son. In a short time, the spiritual sense fluctuations of the father and son disappeared. Chapter 3:13. Lu Kuan stretched out his hand and caught the two small seals on the ground. He looked at the dead father and son on the ground and shook his head regretfully. This kind of powerful magic item is the dream of a body cultivator. It's a pity that it's a seal and can't be used to attack. They underestimated me too much. If they combined this set of level 3 seals and attacked me, they wouldn't have been defeated so quickly. Just now, Lu Kuan used the spiritual shuttle's inertia to rush down from a height of hundreds of feet. Although the power was much weaker than the 300 feet that day, the power was still amazing. Even if he didn't use the giant arm theurgy, the impact combined with his brute force and lightning hammer had already surpassed a level 3 combined magic item. The father and son knew nothing about the fighting methods of body cultivators. They poured their mana into the cataclysmic seal and waited for Lu Kuan to die. Who knew that Lu Kuan's physical strength was far beyond their imagination? The fierce power directly flipped the cataclysmic seal over. It could be said that they were seriously injured by the power of the cataclysmic seal and Lu Kuan's power. In the end, the two of them, whose bones were broken, could only face Lu Kuan, who was in full condition, with a dim mana shield, and could only die with hatred. Lu Kuan put away the two storage bags and walked in the direction of Xiao Jin. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, Xiao Jin panted and pointed in a direction. His monkey face was full of surprise. Lu Kuan's face changed when he heard this. His consciousness activated the golden eye theurgy and his eyes emitted a faint golden light. He looked like a god and looked in the direction Xiao Jin pointed. He sneered. Purple light flashed on his right arm and lightning curled around it. The lightning gathered on his right palm in an instant and formed 5 lightning balls. Under the control of his consciousness, the 5 lightning balls were like a chain of cannonballs, hitting an open space about 100 feet away. Boom! All the lightning balls exploded and formed a small thunderstorm, enveloping the faint figure in this place. From the power of this small thunderstorm, it was no less than any mid-level or mid-level spell. Fellow Taoist Lu's lightning-type Dharma spells are truly perfect. You can use such a fusion Dharma spell so casually. The lightning gradually dissipated, revealing a woman in a fiery red robe who was protected by a crimson barrier. Her face was beautiful, her eyes were bright, and her figure was voluptuous. The loose robe she wore was curvaceous, and she was looking at Lu Kuan with a smile. When Lu Kuan saw this face, he said in surprise, "Fire Lady?" The woman chuckled and said, "That's me." At a glance, he recognized the host of the underground trade fair in Nanfeng Market, and he would not forget this female cultivator's cultivation base of the Great Circle of Foundation establishment, as well as the suspected identity of a talisman master. Spiritual light flashed in his right hand, and a purple lightning hammer appeared in his hand. "Fairy, you've been spying for a while, right? Could it be that you're also interested in Lu's spiritual beasts and spiritual stones?" The Fire Lady seemed relaxed, but when Lu Kuan took out the lightning hammer, her pupils clearly contracted, and she secretly mobilized the powerful mana of the Great Circle of Foundation establishment. She saw that Lu Kuan did not immediately make a move and slowly took 2 steps back, saying, "I saw 2 youths by chance in the southeast market, and discovered that their build was exactly the same as the 2 who followed you that day. Out of curiosity, I followed to take a look." Following that, the Fire Lady said extremely solemnly, "I didn't expect that other than having a core formation stage elder, you're also so powerful. Even the Qiao father and son were not your match." Lu Kuan did not pay attention to this sentence. His eyes narrowed, and his voice carried a trace of coldness as he said, "It seems that you saw all of my battles." The Fire Lady's eyes flickered as she said, "When I came, I just happened to see the Qiao father and son lying on the ground without a sound. It must be you who killed them." Then, as if praising Lu Kuan, she said, You must know that the father and son are extremely famous among the foundation establishment stage cultivators in this area. With the sky flipping seal, even normal Great Circle of Foundation establishment cultivators are not their match. For you to be able to kill them, you're truly remarkable. The mana fluctuations on Lu Kuan's body dissipated, and he said indifferently, "If that's the case, then Lu Kuan will take his leave first. We'll meet again someday." The Fire Lady's heart relaxed. Just as she was about to cup her hands and say something, she discovered that the power of thunder and lightning erupted from Lu Kuan's feet. His entire body shot towards her like an arrow. She secretly cursed in her heart for being cunning. Her body surged with vigorous fire attribute mana fluctuations, and a wall of fire appeared out of thin air, emitting scorching heat, and rushed towards Lu Kuan's direction. At the same time, she muttered an incantation, and a basin-sized crimson fireball formed in front of her. She immediately waved her hand. This gigantic fireball flew forward and hit Lu Kuan, who had just passed through the wall of fire. Boom! After the gigantic fireball hit the opponent, it immediately exploded. Lu Kuan's burly body was not only blown back by the powerful explosion of the fireball, but he was also blown more than 10 feet into the air. Then, a crimson longsword that emitted a powerful aura followed closely and attacked Lu Kuan in midair. In fact, the Fire Lady had already arrived here after the Qiao father and son injured Xiao Jin. Using a mid-level high-grade concealment talisman? She, who was invisible, saw the entire process of Lu Kuan killing the Qiao father and son. This woman was incomparably shocked. Even with her true strength, it was not easy to deal with the father and son, let alone Lu Kuan, who was only in the early foundation establishment stage. No matter what, she was still a cultivator who had cultivated to the perfected foundation establishment stage and had rich combat experience. Soon, she saw the characteristics of Lu Kuan's cultivation technique from the means he had displayed. His physical body was as terrifying as a demonic beast. Coupled with the Dharma weapon in his hand, he was definitely like a demonic beast, attacking his opponent in close combat. Lu Kuan's strange footwork during the battle also made the Fire Lady very vigilant. Therefore, when the two sides started to fight, she treated Lu Kuan as an ordinary level 4 demonic beast with extraordinary attack power and speed. The Fire Lady's several attacks were very well connected. Unfortunately, she knew too little about Lu Kuan. Thunder exploded under Lu Kuan's feet and his whole body grew a few feet taller. He held a huge thunder hammer with both hands and hammered down on the crimson longsword below him. Clang! The crimson longsword trembled and fell down. There was still lightning lingering on it. Even the Fire Lady, who was at the perfected foundation establishment stage, could not control it for a few breaths of time. After knocking down the flying sword, Lu Kuan shot towards the Fire Lady like lightning amidst the sound of thunder. At the same time, under his control, a huge thunder ball appeared on the surface of the thunder hammer. When the Fire Lady saw that Lu Kuan could fly, she took out a red magic fan without hesitation. A halo flowed on the surface of the fan. When she took it out, the faint cry of a phoenix could be heard. Seeing Lu Kuan attacking her, the Fire Lady's face turned pale. She frantically poured her magic power and divine sense into the magic fan. At this time, the fluctuations that erupted from her exceeded that of an ordinary cultivator at the perfected foundation establishment stage. Then, in the loud cry of a flaming phoenix flew out from the magic fan and collided with the purple figure coming towards her. The thunder and fire collided. In the blink of an eye, the flaming phoenix was extinguished and the thunder ball drowned Lu Kuan. Then, the flaming phoenix exploded. The figure inside seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and was sent flying. Lu Kuan, who was charred black, somersaulted in the air, and used the power of the explosion to land steadily beside Xiao Jin and the others. His face was extremely ugly. His body trembled slightly, and he spat out 3 words with difficulty. Chapter 3:14. The Fire Lady's face was slightly pale, and the mana waves on her body seemed to be rather stable. She stared at Lu Kuan, who could still speak, with an extremely shocked expression. However, she did not answer Lu Kuan's question, but continued to activate the magic fan in her hand. Seeing this, Lu Kuan threw out a white spirit shuttle without saying a word, throwing the dazzled disciples and the injured Xiao Jin onto it. Then, under the activation of his mana, the spirit shuttle flew towards the southern marsh region behind the cliff. His actions were completed in the blink of an eye, and the Fire Lady was dumbfounded. As Lu Kuan disappeared from her sight, the lady holding the magic fan opened her red lips and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her cheeks became extremely pale, and the mana in her body instantly weakened. That guy should be seriously injured, or else he would not have escaped without a word. The Fire Lady thought of how Lu Kuan escaped without hesitation and heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that guy's strength to be even more terrifying than I imagined. Just now, I activated the secret technique and used the power of a pseudo-magic treasure. Although the attack was slightly weaker than that of a core formation cultivator, this power was enough to kill a 4th-level demon beast. Not only did he face it head-on, but he also survived. On the surface, he only had superficial burns. Looks like he has a trump card to save his life. As the Fire Lady spoke, she took an elixir. The weak mana in her body gradually stabilized, and her face gradually turned red. After a short while, she opened her bright eyes, which were filled with bitterness. Originally, I would have been able to reach the core formation requirement after cultivating for another 2 years. Using this secret technique has caused me to lose a lot of vitality. Sigh, looks like I still need another 5 years. At this moment, a flying boat flew over from nearby. After seeing the Fire Lady's fiery red figure, it flew straight over. Soon, a young man and woman walked down from the airship. They bowed respectfully to the Fire Lady and said, "Master." If Huang Xiaoyun and the others were here, they would realize that this couple was the 2 cultivators who had tried to drive them away in the 100 Spirits restaurant. Unexpectedly, they were the disciples of the Fire Lady. The Fire Lady asked curiously, "Why are you guys here?" One of the young men bowed and said respectfully, "Master, we met Marshal Uncle Jean at the Southeast Market. He said he was sent by the sect to urge Master to return early." The Fire Lady frowned and said, "Those old guys in the sect actually sent old Jean to rush me. Could it be that something big has happened? Damn it, if I had met old Jean earlier and came with him, that Lu guy wouldn't have left so easily." The charming woman mumbled to herself. Her expression was one of unwillingness. Because of the battle just now, she had delayed her core formation by a few years. Any cultivator would be driven crazy by this. The Qi condensation woman couldn't help but ask, "Master, could it be that the person behind those 2 brats is really the one from the Nanfeng market?" The Fire Lady's expression was a bit unsightly. She said, "It is indeed that guy. Unfortunately, he escaped. Now it seems that the thing that Wan Bao Lu obtained by chance has a very small chance of falling into his hands. It is more likely that it was obtained by the core formation cultivator behind him." The Qi condensation man and woman seemed a bit excited. They thought of the thing they had heard some time ago and couldn't help but say, "Could it be that?" The Fire Lady snorted and said, "Even our Heavenly Talisman sect only has 2 or 3 of those things. Even if you guys reach the foundation establishment stage, you still don't have the qualifications to use it. Don't think too much about it. Cultivate well and wait for the next opportunity. Get on my blazing Phoenix airship. I have to ask old Jean what happened in the sect." After that, the 3 of them boarded a crimson-red flying boat and sped towards the Southeast Market. Lu Kuan, who had already flown 5 kilometers away, stood in front of the spirit shuttle. The charred black skin on the outside of his body gradually faded away, revealing the new tender white skin inside. The cultivation world of the Chu country is indeed much stronger than that of the Wei country. A female foundation establishment stage cultivator that I met by chance already has a pseudo-magic treasure. For a real magic treasure, liquid Dharma power can't unleash a trace of power at all. But a pseudo-magic treasure can be activated by a foundation establishment stage cultivator. One must know that the value of the materials used to refine pseudo-magic treasures is almost the same as a real magic treasure. She can have one, which shows that she is very wealthy. It seems that she really is a talisman master. Unfortunately, even if I have a pseudo-magic treasure, my physical Dharma power is too weak and I can't activate it. While talking to himself, Lu Kuan's physical body had already recovered to its original state. The power released by the flaming magic fan was much stronger than the thunderfall technique. Lu Kuan relied on the lightning hammer and the defensive thunder shield to barely withstand it. He looked at the red spirit controlling array in the depths of his right palm and right arm and said with some relief, "If I continue to use the spirit controlling armor, it would definitely be destroyed by now. But there is no problem with carving my physical body." "Oh right, Xiao Yun, did you buy any blood coagulation grass in the southeast market?" Huang Xiaoyun was observing Lu Kuan's new skin from the side. Shaking his head, he said, "Several big trading firms have already gone to the auction house. Even if I bid 40,000, not a single one will be able to take it out." Lu Kuan sighed. "It seems that on the way to the overseas market, I have to go to all the markets along the way and buy at least 7 or 8 stocks. Use mid-level top-grade talismans? The body refining plan is also about to start. The attack of the pseudo-magic weapon just now can make my physical body improve a little, so this body refining method should be effective for me." Then Lu Kuan looked at the storage bag on his body and frowned. Although this time it attracted some greedy people and the harvest was quite rich, mid-level top-grade talismans are too expensive. If I want to quickly refine my body to the mid-stage of foundation establishment, it is not something that can be done with a dozen or so talismans. The spirit stones are definitely not enough. Moreover, when I reach the Abyss Island in the overseas market, if I want to rent a shop in a place where there are many cultivators, I don't know how many spirit stones I need every year. Just when Lu Kuan was having a headache about the spirit stones, Xiao Jin, who was healing, suddenly opened his eyes and shouted at Lu Kuan. "And I guessed it too. That woman won't catch up. She doesn't lack spirit stones and doesn't need to take the risk. We are already far away from the land of death. Even if she sees my fighting style, it doesn't matter." Squeak squeak. "What?" "She said that in the storage bag of the 1,000 treasure tower, there is something very important to her sect?" When Lu Kuan heard Xiao Jin's next sentence, he looked a little puzzled. Then he took out the storage bag of the people of the 1,000 treasure tower and searched carefully with divine sense. Could it be this? With Lu Kuan's attainments in refining, he quickly eliminated many magic weapons and materials and took out a black token. "This is the only thing that I can't see through. I can't even tell the material." He saw that the material of this black token was like gold but not gold. It looked hard. The front was engraved with the word demon, and the back was engraved with the word demon. He looked at it for a long time, but he couldn't figure it out, so he could only put it away. Ask around along the way in the future. Then Lu Kuan continued to think about the spirit stones. He glanced at Huang Xiaoyun and little Pan Yin, who were in a daze. He narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Xiao Yun, little Yin, I will give you a mission, how about it?" "What mission?" "Nothing, it's just that in the future, every time you pass by a market, you have to show off like these 2 days and then wait for me outside the market." Little Pan Yin recalled today's scene, and his eyebrows were almost squeezed together. He said very hesitantly, "But, Master, didn't we become robbers?" "Ahem, this is to eliminate evil cultivators with evil intentions and maintain the order of the Chu Kingdom's market." Huang Xiaoyun was stunned. "Master, aren't we immortal cultivators of the Wei Kingdom?" Lu Kuan ignored Huang Xiaoyun and said to little Pan Yen, "Little Yen, these evil cultivators kill people and steal treasures at the drop of a hat. Don't you think they are very abominable?" Lu Kuan's expression when he spoke was completely like an evil uncle holding candy and tempting a child to do bad things. Chapter 3:15. In a secret cave in the southern marsh region of the Chu country, a burly man laughed heartily as he looked at his 4 limbs with a joyful expression. Under the stimulation of a condensed divine sense, his arms, legs, hands, and feet had a total of 8 complicated spirit arrays hidden in his body, emitting a faint red light. With the activation of the spirit arrays, the dermic powers in the man's body boiled strangely. I didn't expect to be lucky enough to obtain 4 stalks of 200 to 300 years old blood-clotting grass in the southern marsh region. I refined enough blood marrow powder to carve the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on a few battle-related body parts. The burly man was Lu Kuan. They had already been in the southern marsh region for half a year. It was not only because the southern marsh region was larger than the eastern marsh region, but also because there were many markets here. Lu Kuan walked and stopped, and he had visited almost all of the large markets in the southern marsh region. Fortunately, the heavens did not disappoint him, and he was able to buy the blood-clotting grass. On this day, he had accumulated enough blood essence, and with the addition of other materials and preparations, he had successfully carved the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on 6 parts of his body, excluding his right arm. At this moment, Lu Kuan was holding a lightning hammer in each hand. The purple light on the 2 weapons was extremely dazzling, and they had already been activated to the maximum power of the early foundation establishment stage. The damaged lightning hammer from before had also been completely repaired by him. Under the precise control of his dermic powers, the lightning on the surface of the giant hammer could even fuse into a lightning ball at any time. Lu Kuan was able to control it nimbly. Just as I expected, the spirit-controlling spirit arrays carved on my body with the blood marrow powder are even more effective. It's as if a spirit root is born out of thin air. Lu Kuan muttered to himself. Suddenly, his expression changed, as if he had thought of something unbelievable. Spirit root is born out of thin air? If I can carve the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on the bodies of mortals who have mastered the Vajra esoteric art, will they be able to possess dermic powers? When my spirit root is hidden, I don't have the ability to control spirit chi, but I'm still a cultivator with spirit root. This spirit-controlling spirit array can help me convert dermic powers. Will it work on mortals without spirit roots? Lu Kuan's imagination was running wild as he came up with a series of ideas. Then, he shook his head and muttered to himself, "Even if I have the body of a Vajra esoteric art master, it's still not strong enough to be the carrier of a spirit-controlling array. I was overthinking it." Lu Kuan threw this thought to the back of his mind in the blink of an eye. He took out a pile of talismans from his storage bag. These talismans? There were 50 to 60 of them, and each of them contained powerful magic fluctuations. If ordinary cultivators knew that Lu Kuan had so many mid-grade top-grade talismans, they would definitely be shocked. His eyeballs had to pop out of their sockets. How could there be so many powerful talismans? With it in his hands, he could even fight against a normal completion-leveled cultivator. Lu Kuan sensed a large number of top-grade talismans. When put together, the terrifying aura was similar to that of facing a core formation cultivator. There was an indescribable sense of oppression and trembling. Does this mean that these talismans? If released at the same time, they could easily kill him. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. In the past 6 months, I've killed a lot of notorious cultivators. That's why I was able to buy so many mid-grade top-grade talismans? You have to know that these hundreds of thousands of spirit stones can be used to buy refining materials for magic treasures. Next, Lu Kuan looked at the talismans. He picked out a dozen fire attribute magic talismans. Last time, under the attack of the Fire Lady's pseudo-magic treasure, Even if I relied on defensive means to reduce a lot of power, the remaining power was about the same as a mid-grade top-grade magic talisman. It's completely enough to temper the bones in the depth. Lu Kuan then took out the 9 nether cauldron from Wang Shitong. Some time ago, he relied on the power of his divine sense engraving technique to add a few small arrays to the 9 nether cauldron. He muttered some incantations, and a series of spells were cast into the pitch-black cauldron wall. After a while, the 9 nether cauldrons swelled and grew to the size of an ordinary person. Lu Kuan took off all the robes on his body and jumped into the enlarged 9 nether cauldron. It was just big enough to fit him inside. Then he reached out and waved his hand, and the 3 blaze spell talismans on the ground? He waved them into his hand. Under the cover of the 9 nether cauldron, these talismans can unleash the most power. Only then can it release the greatest power. If it's outside, most of the power will be absorbed by the external muscles. But now that my muscles have been tempered to the limit of my current cultivation, the tempering effect is limited. I have to stimulate the bones in the depths to the greatest extent possible. After muttering to himself, Lu Kuan directly activated a mid-grade top-grade blaze spell talisman. A fiery red flame appeared in the 9 nether cauldron. At the same time, a spirit light flashed in Lu Kuan's hand. Around the mouth of the 9 nether cauldron, a protruding black stone appeared. Then, it turned into a black lid, sealing the 9 nether cauldron. Lu Kuan actually sealed himself in the 9 nether cauldron, as if his body was a material to be refined into a magic tool. The 9 nether cauldron was burning with surging flames. Even outside the cauldron that could withstand core formation realm flames, one could feel the scorching heat. Haha, awesome! The power of the flames directly passed through my muscles. It's a pity that I can't control this spell, otherwise the efficiency would be even higher. Lu Kuan thought so in his heart. The lightning attribute magic power in his body fluctuated violently and divided into 2 parts. One part formed a protective barrier around his organs. The other part rushed to the burned bones in his body. The blaze spell was destroying, catalyzing his body and melting his bones. The lightning attribute magic was responsible for repairing these wounds. Lu Kuan's expression was rather ferocious. The pain of being burned by the flames was no less than that of the thunderfall technique. In fact, it was even stronger than the thunderfall technique. After all, the thunderfall technique numbed the nerves, while the roaring flame technique only burned. But a talisman? After all, spells were talismans. It came quickly, but it also left quickly. In a short while, the power of the first blaze spell was about to be exhausted, and the surface of Lu Kuan's body was charred black. Immediately after, Lu Kuan activated the second talisman. Taking advantage of the fact that the defensive power of his external muscles had been slightly reduced, he used the blaze spell to refine them again. Lu Kuan stayed in the 9 nether cauldron like this for 15 minutes until the power of the 3 blaze spells was completely exhausted. Only then did he open the cauldron lid and jump out. At this moment, his entire body was charred black. The muscles all over his body seemed to have shrunk, and the magic power in his body was extremely low. After 3 blaze spells, my lightning attribute magic power is pretty much exhausted. Then, he took out a spirit stone and began to recover his magic power. However, as his physical magic power recovered, the charred black on his body still remained, and his muscles also did not recover to their full state. After a long while, Lu Kuan opened his eyes. His face was full of excitement. The magic power consumption is extremely fast, but the effect of this 15 minutes of bone refinement is extremely strong. After I recover my magic power, I can clearly feel that the liquid magic power in my bones has increased by a knot. Haha, only with this speed can I hope to reach the middle stage of foundation establishment in a short time. I won't recover my muscles for now. My external defense is slightly weaker, so the bone refinement will be easier. Chapter 3:16. At the entrance of the cave, little Pan Yen and Huang Xiaoyun were sitting cross-legged, guarding the entrance that was covered by a protective array formation, protecting Lu Kuan. Xiao Jin sat behind them, his body emitting a faint yellow glow. There were a few drops of sweat on his monkey face, as if he was enduring some kind of pain. Huang Xiaoyun was observing this senior brother's cultivation carefully. "Senior brother, are we still going to the market? It seems that the next one is the last large market in the southern marsh region. We can cheat more evil cultivators since we're about to leave the southern marsh region anyway." The one who spoke was Pan Yen. This strong-headed child had a face full of excitement, completely without the previous conflicted look. It was as if cheating people had become his hobby. Hearing that, Huang Xiaoyun's eyes revealed some helplessness. After half a year of training, little Pan Yan's sense of justice was still very strong, but it was finally developing in a good direction. He was able to distinguish between good and bad, and his sense of justice exploded towards those evil cultivators who wantonly bullied others. Cheating evil cultivators had already become little Pan Yan's happiest thing. Huang Xiaoyun replied, "I'm afraid that there won't be much effect this time. Even if my Vajra incantation has reached the 7th level and I can barely change my appearance, our figures won't change much. If some merchants were to mingle in the market, they would discover that the two of us who are flaunting our wealth in the market are still alive and kicking. They must have their suspicions. Moreover, you've also discovered that the number of evil cultivators who are fooled in the end is decreasing each time." Little Pan Yen pulled a long face and said with a bleak expression, "It's a pity that I only managed to enter the 5th level with Master's help. I can't change my appearance. Looks like I can't help Master to kill evil cultivators." Huang Xiaoyun looked at the disappointed little Pan Yen, his eyes rolling in thought for a moment. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "I have an idea." Little Pan Yen asked hurriedly, "What idea? Senior brother, tell me quickly." Huang Xiaoyun said, "That means we don't need to attract the attention of those evil cultivators who want to kill us and steal our treasures. Even if we can change our faces, our figures will still be easily recognized. Why don't we let Master disguise himself? As Master's enemies, we will cooperate with him. In the future, Master will reveal some of his value." "Yes, as long as I can cooperate with Master." Pan Yen knew that his current cultivation was too low. Apart from cooperating, there was no way he could participate in the battle. Then, he looked into the depths of the cave and revealed a worried expression. "However, Master has already been in seclusion for more than 10 days. He should be fine. It'll be fine." Huang Xiaoyun gazed at the cave and revealed a look of yearning. "I heard Master say that because he is still exploring the path of body cultivation, the sooner he reaches the perfect foundation stage, the higher his chances of entering the completion stage. Why did Master buy so many mid-grade top-grade mage talismans? It is to use the powerful might of these magical powers to bombard the physical body. This way, the physical body will improve rapidly under repeated polishing." Pan Yen asked in a daze, "Mid-grade top-grade talisman? Master used his physical body to receive it?" During this period of time, he had been in the cultivation world and had seen countless battles between foundation stage cultivators. Of course, he knew about this talisman. It was powerful. Generally, a late foundation establishment stage cultivator would not be able to withstand a spell of this level even if they relied on their own magical power to protect themselves. However, their master was able to withstand such a spell without relying on any defensive measures. Furthermore, he was able to use this spell to temper his body. This was simply more demonic than demonic beasts. Little Pan Yen could not help but murmur, "Can we be as strong as Master after we reach the foundation stage? This way, when I fight with others, I don't even need to make a move. The enemy can't break through my defense at all." Huang Xiaoyun flicked little Pan Yan's forehead and said, "Junior brother, didn't Master also tell us before that he has some kind of special physique? The foundation of his physical body is already stronger than ours. Moreover, he cultivated his body, which is why he has such a terrifying physical body today. However, Master has already paved the path from the Chi refinement stage to the foundation stage for us. The Vajra esoteric art refines the foundation, the Chi refinement stage refines the muscles, the early stage foundation stage refines the bones, the mid-stage foundation stage refines the marrow, the late-stage foundation stage refines the internal organs, and finally reaches the great circle of foundation stage. Just these alone are enough for us to cultivate in peace for hundreds of years. When we reach the foundation stage, although we won't be as strong as Master, ordinary cultivators of the same level will definitely not be our match. Little Pan Yen revealed a yearning expression, then closed his eyes and began to cultivate. At this time, he had reached the 5th level of the Vajra esoteric art, which cultivated the muscles and nerves of his entire body. After Lu Kuan's improvement, he only needed to cultivate the first half of the spirit sensing technique for this level. The speed was much faster than the Vajra esoteric art, and he could quickly enter the 6th level. Seeing this, Huang Xiaoyun also began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to temper his physical body. Only by reaching the great circle of Vajra esoteric art, as soon as possible could he cultivate the essence gold body tempering technique that Lu Kuan had taught him. At this moment, Xiao Jin opened his eyes and jumped up, squeaking excitedly. This squeaking made little Pan Yen and Huang Xiaoyun stop cultivating. They both stood up and looked into the depths of the cave. They saw Lu Kuan slowly walking out from inside. His physical dermic powers had already been stimulated by him, and his entire body exuded an even more vigorous dermic power fluctuation. Even though he was relatively far away, Pan Yen and Huang Xiaoyun felt extremely uncomfortable. Soon, Lu Kuan restrained the dermic power fluctuations in his entire body and became like little Pan Yen, just like a mortal. Master, you've broken through to the middle stage of the foundation stage? Huang Xiaoyun's face was full of excitement. Previously, when his master was in the early stage of the foundation stage, his dermic powers were not as strong as now. Lu Kuan shook his head and said, I'm still in the early stage of the foundation stage, but the strength of my bones has improved greatly, causing the amount of dermic powers that can be stored in my bones to increase greatly. I'm still a distance away from the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage. However, after tempering my bones quite a bit, my strength has increased a little. It should be around 56,000 pounds. The excitement on Huang Xiaoyun's face did not diminish in the slightest. He said, It's only been 10 days and Master, your cultivation has improved so much. Doesn't that mean that in a month you'll steadily reach the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage? When that time comes, you'll break through again and become a body cultivator in the middle stage of the foundation stage. Lu Kuan's face was a little dark, and he said with a pained expression, Sigh, in these 10 days, I spent hundreds of thousands of spirit stones to buy mid-level top-grade talismans. I used them all up, and only then did I complete more than half of the foundation stage cultivation. Are these spirit stones equivalent to magic treasures? My physical defense is gradually increasing. To complete the tempering of my bones and reach the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage, I'll need at least 50 more of the same talismans? This is completely burning spirit stones. Huang Xiaoyun chuckled and said, Master, we were just discussing that the previous method might not have any effect. Oh, then what evil idea do you have? Chapter 317. In the westernmost part of the southern marsh state, there was a cliff that was hundreds of meters tall. Due to the humid climate of the southern marsh state, there were dense vines growing on the cliff. With these vines, some of the stronger mortal warriors could also climb up the cliff using these vines. At this moment, 2 immortal cultivators were standing in the air more than 50 zhang away from the cliff. Even Lu Kuan, who had the powerful thunderous explosion steps, could only fly in the air, and could not stay in the air. This meant that these two cultivators were clearly core formation cultivators. One of them was a cold-faced man wearing a white robe. He had a serious expression as he carefully looked at the cliff in front of him. He said, "I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist you to lead the way this time. The traces of battle could be an important clue." The other core formation cultivator was an old man with white hair and beard. He said, "Fellow Taoist Huang, you don't have to thank me. Even if you didn't ask, I would have come out to investigate. After all, my disciple with great potential might have met with misfortune." After the core formation old man finished speaking, he carefully looked at the cliff in front of him. His expression was extremely shocked as he muttered, "This kind of attack is not likely to be done by a foundation establishment cultivator. And for existences below the core formation stage, even the strongest level 4 demonic beast, the sea bear, would not be able to create such a deep hole." In front of the two core formation cultivators, on the cliff that was more than 500 meters tall, there was a huge hole with a radius of more than 20 meters. It looked as if a giant hammer had smashed into the cliff. There was also a lot of dark red blood in the depths of the hole. The cliff had been at the border of the southern marsh state for God knows how many years. Even the humid wind couldn't soften the cliff here after countless years of effort. Even with such a big hammer, it would require an astonishing amount of strength to create such a hole. Fellow Taoist you're wrong. The sea bear can't create such an effect. Those demonic beasts that only have brute strength would not be able to mix in their attacks with lightning-type spells. The core formation old man's expression changed. He carefully scanned the area with his divine sense. With his powerful divine sense of the early core formation stage, he finally found a trace of lightning energy on a blood-red rock in the depths of the hole. It really is a lightning-type spell. However, a look of shock and anger appeared on the old man's face. He waved his hand and took out the blood-red stone. Then, he took out a white spell plate. His hand shone brightly as a small arrow appeared on the spell plate and pointed at the stone. "This blood. It's my third disciple." The core formation old man quickly took out a jade bottle and muttered an incantation. With a flash of light, the strand of lightning energy within the stone was sucked into the jade bottle. They actually dared to kill my disciple outside the market that I was guarding. I must capture the culprit. When the cold-faced man saw this hole, he thought of the giant hole outside Nanfeng Market. Although the power was different, it was very similar. It was very likely that it was done by the same person. He said, "Fellow Taoist the cultivator who killed your disciple is very likely the person I'm looking for. Could it be that those two killed my disciple?" The cold-faced man shook his head and said, "The person behind those two is the one I've been tracking. I was investigating the theft of my family's 10,000 treasures building in the eastern Galloping province. Those two are just a clue. Later, I received news in the southeast market that those two appeared there. That's why I chased after them. When I came to the southern marsh region and investigated some of the markets, I discovered something strange." At this point, the cold-faced man revealed a somewhat thought-provoking expression. The core formation old man couldn't help but ask, "What did fellow Taoist find?" Every time these two youths are in the market, they would inadvertently reveal their shocking wealth. Moreover, they have a level 2 demon monkey following them. Every time, they would attract some greedy foundation establishment cultivators to tail them. But later, those foundation establishment cultivators who followed them seemed to have evaporated from the world and never appeared again. The core formation old man came to a realization. This kind of trick was very clear to cultivators like him who had lived for hundreds of years. Those two young men were hooks that lured cultivators to their door. Then, they would be killed by someone stronger. Then, the old man glanced at the cold-faced man who was studying the deep pit. Thinking of the other party's identity in the 10,000 treasures building, he revealed a smile and said, I must avenge my disciple. I must track this strange cultivator to the end. But what I'm curious about is what kind of treasure the 10,000 treasures building lost that actually made fellow Taoist Huang personally investigate. I'm afraid the value of this treasure is above magic treasures. The cold-faced man secretly cursed in his heart for being cunning. This old man's revenge for his disciple was fake. Checking the treasures his 10,000 treasures building lost was the real reason. His expression didn't change as he said, "It's just some scattered materials. But together, the value is no less than 200,000 spirit stones. I just happened to come out to relax recently, so I accepted this matter." The old man nodded with an expression of understanding, but what he was thinking in his heart was unknown. The cold-faced man said, "The person we're facing should be a foundation establishment core disciple of a large sect. If he's a core formation cultivator, he wouldn't be so bored as to kill a foundation establishment cultivator like this." The core formation old man nodded and took out the jade bottle. "I observed carefully just now. This lightning power is not at the core formation level. Either this foundation establishment cultivator has a lightning attribute talisman, or he's a Rellingan cultivator." The cold-faced man unconsciously frowned and said, "It seems that the two of us need to join forces to catch up to him in time. Rellingan Foundation establishment cultivators are not simple. I feel that this person's strength has already reached the peak of the Foundation establishment stage. Moreover, his magic power and divine sense are far beyond ordinary cultivators. It's very likely that he has a pseudo-magic treasure. Otherwise, it's impossible to have such power." The core formation old man said disdainfully, "A foundation establishment cultivator is just a foundation establishment cultivator. Even if the core disciples of the top 10 sects have a pseudo-magic treasure, they can't fight against a core formation cultivator." After he finished speaking, he took out the jade bottle and began to release a tracking spell. The cold-faced man silently watched the old man cast the spell and muttered in his heart, "We can't let this old man know about the demon token. Otherwise, he'll definitely snatch it. After all, if the demon token is used well, it's very likely that a sect or family will have another core formation cultivator. This trace of lightning power is too little. The tracking spell can only last for half a day. Fellow Huang, let's combine our escape lights. This way we can catch up to them quickly." Chapter 3:18. Lu Kuan closed his eyes and stood on top of the flying boat. He was using his mana to heal the injuries on his body. He slowly opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "That guy's strength is not simple. Not only are his magic items powerful, his late-stage mana is also quite pure. Fortunately, my mana is more profound and the numbing effect of the lightning is stronger. That's why I was able to use that combo and completely seize the rhythm of the battle and kill my opponent. With the spirit controlling array on my limbs, I have almost nothing to worry about when I attack. I can completely take on the weaker attacks head-on. Although the final impact of the combo damaged my body, the spirit controlling array on the inner layer of my fascia is still intact." Lu Kuan looked at his limbs and revealed a satisfied expression. Ji. Xiao Jin, who was controlling the spiritual shuttle in front, suddenly screamed. His expression was extremely flustered. Lu Kuan's expression changed greatly after hearing this. "What? You're saying there are core formation cultivators chasing after us?" Ji. "There are still 2 of them. They're already more than 20 miles away." Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yen, who were in the spiritual shuttle, were also panicking. They recalled that in the Land of Death, just a single attack from a core formation cultivator required a few foundation establishment stage uncles to join forces and barely block it. Now that there are 2 core formation cultivators, wouldn't they have no power to resist? Lu Kuan quickly calmed down. He had been chased by core formation cultivators more than once. Unfortunately, the silver dragon flying boat was a special magic item. With his current mana, he had no way to repair it. He could not rely on speed to escape. And now, including Xiao Jin, there were only 2 foundation establishment stage cultivators. If 2 core formation stage cultivators caught up to them, they would die without a doubt. Then, he revealed a reminiscing expression and said, "Before that guy died, he said that his master would avenge him. Could it be the one at the back?" "I have an idea." Lu Kuan immediately retracted all the mana fluctuations in his body. At the same time, he activated the concealing spiritual root's divine ability and hid all the power of his divine sense in the depths of his sea of consciousness. All the aura disappeared completely. He recalled the situation when he was tracked by a core formation cultivator. Generally speaking, an early-stage core formation cultivator's divine sense could only cover a range of about 10 kilometers. It was very likely that they used some sort of medium to determine his direction. These mediums were nothing more than mana or divine sense, so Lu Kuan kept them away and asked, "Xiao Jin, sense where they are now." Xiao Jin's ears twitched slightly, and she let out a few surprised cries. Lu Kuan's expression relaxed, and he said to Xiao Jin, "As expected, we can't track them. Xiao Jin, fly in another direction." This is the largest state of Chu, Shiyuan state. In the next period of time, to be on the safe side, we will not go to the market but take the route with fewer immortal cultivators. We will decide what to do after we have covered a quarter of the West Yuan County. That's right, I remember that area on the map belongs to one of the 10 great sects, the Heavenly Talisman sect. Let's go there. Squeak squeak. Xiao Jin sensed that the core formation cultivator behind them had stopped. She controlled the spirit shuttle and flew towards an area with fewer immortal cultivators. About 20 kilometers behind Lu Kuan's flying boat, 2 immortal cultivators were standing in the air. The cold-faced man asked doubtfully, "Fellow Taoist Yu, why did you stop?" The old core formation cultivator surnamed Yu had an unsightly expression. He closed his eyes and sensed for a while, and then swept his divine sense over an area of about 10 kilometers. "Impossible, my tracking technique can't have lost its effect so quickly. Why can't I sense that guy's mana? Moreover, there are no suspicious people within the range of my divine sense." Hearing this, the cold-faced man's expression became a bit unnatural. Like the old man, he also released his divine sense. After a short while, he shook his head and said, "I've also checked. There really aren't any foundation establishment cultivators nearby. There are only scattered chi condensation cultivators." That's strange. Facing a foundation establishment cultivator, my secret technique actually lost its effect. The cold-faced man thought for a while and said, looking at the direction he was flying, he was heading towards the central area of the West Yuan state. There are 4 powerful sects there, and they are all ranked among the 10 great sections. If this person is a core disciple of the 10 great sects, maybe he really knows some kind of secret technique to hide his mana. I'm afraid we can't catch up. The old man's eyes were a little unwilling. However, he secretly glanced at the cold-faced man and found that he didn't show an anxious expression. His heart moved, and he asked intentionally or unintentionally, "I wonder what fellow Taoist Huang plans to do next." The cold-faced man showed a bit of helplessness and said, "The clue ends here. However, there is a market square ahead. There is a shop of our 10,000 treasures tower. I want to go there and send a message to my family through a miniature array." The core formation old man's eyes turned and said, "It just so happens that I also want to go to the market square over there." The cold-faced man showed a bit of doubt and said, "Fellow Taoist, is it okay to leave your sect's market square for such a long time?" The old man said with a fake smile, "Before I came out, I told my disciple that it's okay. It seems that I have to go with fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, you don't mind, right?" The cold-faced man cursed in his heart. However, the sect that this core formation old man belonged to was not weak. Like their family, it also had a nascent soul cultivator overseeing it. He couldn't easily offend it and could only nod in agreement. Heavenly Talisman Sect, Scorching Sun Sect, Star Moon Pavilion, and Dao Yi School. This West Yuan state is known as the largest state in the Chu state, and there are actually 4 of the 10 grade sections. Lu Kuan carefully looked at the information about the sects in the West Yuan state in his hand and murmured. Among these 4 sects, the Dao Yi sect is ranked first among the 10 great sections. They have more than 10 nascent soul elders and a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Their strength is really terrifying. They are even stronger than the Shangqing sect back then. The Scorching Sun sect is ranked third. They have 7 nascent soul cultivators and no late-stage cultivators. The Star Moon Pavilion is ranked 8th among the 10 great sections. They have 3 nascent soul elders. As for the Heavenly Talisman sect, it is ranked last among the 10 great sections. They have 2 nascent soul elders. In addition to these 4 sects, there are many second-level sects that are similar to the Red Refining sect. They have a nascent soul cultivator overseeing them. Lu Kuan sighed. There are so many cultivation sects in the Chu state. They are much stronger than our Wei state. With the strength of the miraculous gate, it seems that they are only slightly stronger than the 8th great sect here. The West Yuan state is not only huge, but also has a variety of spirit veins. It is also close to the overseas area. I think these sects have operations in the overseas area, so they have enough resources to support the many nascent soul cultivators in the sect. So we have to go to the overseas area. That is the place where we can rise again. Lu Kuan revealed a look of yearning as he silently calculated the time that had passed. There is still a little over a year left in the 2-year agreement with senior brother and the others. I will go to the vicinity of the Heavenly Talisman sect first. The harvest from the battle just now is not small. I should be able to buy a lot of top-level talismans. As long as there are enough top-level talismans, in the next year I might be able to reach the peak of the early-stage foundation establishment. I have calculated before that I must use 15 years to break through the mid-stage foundation establishment. Now, even if the bottleneck of the early-stage foundation establishment is difficult to break through, the remaining 13 years are enough for me to think of a way to break through. Chapter 319. 2 months later, in a mountain range to the east of the Xiuan province of Chu, there was a famous sect in Chu. This was the Heavenly Talisman sect. On this day, a man and a woman appeared at the Heavenly Talisman sect. The two were foundation establishment stage cultivators. Their cultivation was powerful, and they both had the mana fluctuations of the great circle of foundation establishment. One of the women had a beautiful face, a voluptuous figure, and a curvaceous figure. She was the fire lady that Lu Kuan had met before, the one who had a pseudomagic weapon. The man beside her looked different from ordinary people. His skin was completely golden, and his entire body emitted an extremely sharp aura. With one look, one could tell that he had cultivated some kind of extremely powerful metal element technique. The fire lady felt the sharp aura of the man beside her and said, "Old Jean, I'll have to trouble you to accompany me this time. Otherwise, when the day comes, I'm afraid that my mana won't be able to reach the core formation stage." I didn't expect that the sect would obtain another demon token. Now, among the remaining disciples, I'm the only one that meets the requirements. The man surnamed Jean smiled and said, "Junior sister, you don't have to be so polite with me. My mana has already reached the core formation stage. In the next year or two, I only need to prepare for that place. Right now, helping you find the earth fire grass overseas is as easy as lifting a finger." Then old Jean asked curiously, "But junior sister, the person who forced you to use your secret technique and use your pseudomagic weapon, was it really just an early foundation establishment stage cultivator? Huamain Yang was embarrassed, but she still nodded and said helplessly, "He is indeed in the early stage of the foundational level. However, his technique is extremely strange. Not only does it contain the power of lightning, but his physical strength is also extremely strong. Even the overturning heaven seal, a set of extremely powerful magic weapons, was forcibly sent flying by him. Furthermore, he used his magic weapon to attack. Combined with the power of lightning, he was able to make my Red Brilliance sword lose control for a short period of time. His attack power is extremely strong. If I didn't use my pseudo-magic weapon, my life would be in danger." Old Jean revealed a somewhat shocked expression and said, "Used his magic weapon? Powerful physical body? I seem to have heard of your technique from a good friend of mine." The Fire Lady asked curiously, "Old Jean, you've actually heard of it? Tell me about it." Old Jean summoned a light golden flying boat and said, "Junior sister, get on the flying boat first. We still need a few months to get to the outer sea." After the Fire Lady boarded the flying boat, Old Jean showed some admiration and said, "My good friend is very strong. Although she is still a little bit away from the peak of Foundation establishment, she is much stronger than me." "Which sect's core disciple are you talking about? Could it be the Tao One sect?" Old Jean shook his head and said, "He is a cultivator from the state of Wei on the other side of the land of death. A few years ago, the Shangqing school of the state of Wei was driven out of the state of Wei. The immortal cultivation world of the state of Chu has heard about it. He is a disciple of Shangqing school. He once told me when we were chatting that there was a foundation establishment cultivator from the Yang clan of the state of Wei who had an extremely strange technique. They all used magic weapons to attack their opponent. Their physical body was comparable to that of demonic beasts, and they had the strength of the late Foundation establishment stage. However, the Yang clan was also schemed against by other sections. They were even more miserable than the Shangqing school. The entire clan was wiped out. I heard that some Foundation establishment disciples escaped." The Fire Lady suddenly understood and said, "So this person is very likely to be a surviving disciple of the Yang clan of the state of Wei." Old Jean waved his hand and said, "This is also a wild guess. Maybe this person learned his technique from other places. Although the person from the Yang clan is also in the early Foundation establishment stage, he doesn't sound as strong as you." The Fire Lady said thoughtfully, "Old Jean, let's not care about this person for now. Let's go to the outer sea and look for the earth fire grass. After that, we will wait at the Sex station on the Abyss Island. And, after some time, Martial Ancestor Qian will also go there. After all, if we grasp this opportunity well, there will be 3 more core formation cultivators in the sect." As they spoke, their golden flying boat sped up and flew towards the outer sea in the west. On the same day, a white spirit shuttle appeared outside the mountain range where the Heavenly Talisman sect was located. On it was a strong and burly man, an 18 or 19-year-old youth, and an 11 or 12-year-old child. It was Lu Kuan and the others who had spent a lot of time to come here. Looking at the mountain range in front of them and the cultivators who appeared from time to time in the air, Huang Xiaoyun suddenly asked curiously, "Master, how is the strength of the Heavenly Talisman sect compared to our Yang clan?" Lu Kuan sighed and said, "The Heavenly Talisman sect is really very similar to our Yang clan. We refine magic tools, but they refine talismans. They both rely on the exquisite inheritance of the sect to earn a lot of resources. The Heavenly Talisman sect is famous in the state of Chu for its talisman crafting technique. Every disciple of the sect has a lot of talismans. If any cultivator were to encounter them, it would be quite troublesome. I heard that the 2 nascent soul elders of the sect only have high-grade magic talismans on them. Because of this, ordinary early nascent soul cultivators aren't willing to fight the 2 elders of the Heavenly Talisman sect." Huang Xiaoyun asked again, "Master, Didn't you use mid-grade, top-grade talismans before? Can you use high-grade magic techniques to temper your body? Lu Kun bitterly smiled and shook his head. I also thought about it, but after I learned about high-grade magic techniques, I realized it was impossible. High-grade magic techniques and mid-grade magic techniques are on two completely different levels. The difference in power is like the difference between heaven and earth. High-grade magic techniques are even more powerful than ordinary magic treasures. High-grade magic techniques are very difficult to release. Even core formation cultivators can't release them if they don't have enough comprehension of the 5 elements. Only genius cultivators with extremely high comprehension abilities can easily release high-grade magic techniques in the core formation stage. For example, Martial Uncle Nye Wufeng has an extremely high comprehension of wind attribute magic technique. I've seen Martial Uncle Nye release high-grade wind attribute magic techniques and easily block 3 core formation cultivators. Martial Uncle Nye's cultivation is only at the early core formation stage. Although it's because of the strange magic techniques, it also shows how terrifying high-grade magic techniques are. However, no matter how high a core formation cultivator's comprehension abilities are, under the restriction of magic power, they can only release low-grade, high-grade magic technique. As for high-grade magic techniques, only nascent soul cultivators can release them. Their might is unimaginable. So the nascent soul cultivators of the Heavenly Talisman sect carry many high-grade talismans? Their battle prowess is greatly increased. Unfortunately, the sentient puppets of my sect can also increase their strength, but they are too difficult to refine. Lu Kun immediately thought of their Yang clan's method of refining sentient puppets and sighed. Not to mention the 2 nascent soul cultivators of the Heavenly Talisman sect, their overall strength and the number of core formation cultivators are greater than our Yang clan. If they want to develop again, they have a long way to go. Huang Xiaoyun couldn't help but clench his fists and said, Master, I believe that we will definitely develop body cultivation. Lu Kun also secretly clenched his fists and muttered, That's right. Chapter 320. Primary Top-Grade Talismans Refined by the Heavenly Talisman Sect's Foundation Establishment Disciples? Selling them in bulk. Thunder Palm Talisman? 2 of them. It's a must-have for Qi condensation cultivators. If anyone wants it, I'll give you the basic talisman crafting technique. Selling large amounts of talisman paper. Besides primary talisman paper, there are also intermediate talismans that can be refined. Talisman paper and talisman brush. Lu Kun and his group had just arrived at the market of the Heavenly Talisman sect when they heard all kinds of clamor. Were they all selling talismans? They were all related to talismans. These talismans? They're consumables. Sure enough, they sell much better than our Yang clan's magic tools. Moreover, the Xiuan province is close to the sea. All kinds of demon beast materials can be used to make talismans. Lu Kun looked at the street in front of him. Besides the fixed shops, there were even more cultivators wearing the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple robes setting up stalls. Moreover, there were many people setting up stalls everywhere, especially those selling Thunder Palm talismans. There were even several Qi condensation cultivators fighting over them. When Lu Kun looked carefully, he discovered that these people weren't fighting over the Thunder Palm talisman. Instead, they were eyeing the basic talisman crafting technique that the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple had gifted them. Lu Kun couldn't help but laugh. He had seen this kind of trick in the Yang clan's market. At that time, they were disciples of the weapon refining peak. They sold magic tools and gave away the basic talisman crafting technique. The basic talisman crafting technique was the emasculated version of their weapon refining peak. After learning it, they would at most be able to refine the simplest formation plate. If they were lucky, with the help of good materials, they would barely be able to refine the most basic magic tool. Looking at the flickering eyes of the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple selling Thunder Palm talismans, Lu Kuan guessed that if he were to learn the basic talisman crafting technique, he wouldn't even be able to inscribe the simplest elementary magic spell. Let's go, we'll go to the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion in the middle of the market. It's said that the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion was opened by the Heavenly Talisman sect, and there are core formation stage cultivators guarding the pavilion. With the Heavenly Talisman sect's reputation as one of the top 10 sects, it should be very safe to do business there. Lu Kuan looked at the 5-story building in the middle of the market from afar. He quickened his pace and urged the curious Huang Xiaoyun and little Pan Yin to keep up. After walking for a while, Lu Kuan seemed to have thought of something. He patted the spirit beast pouch at his waist and released Xiao Jin, who sat cross-legged on his shoulder. Lu Kuan whispered a few words. Xiao Jin nodded its head, then it mobilized its demonic spiritual energy, revealing the aura of a rank 1 demonic beast. Although Xiao Jin had the aura of a rank 1 demonic beast, the cultivators on the street didn't pay too much attention to it. Even some Qi refinement stage cultivators only gave it a simple glance. They had seen a lot of Class 1 top demonic beasts. Some of the more knowledgeable Foundation establishment cultivators had even seen demonic beasts of Class 5 and above. Therefore, when Xiao Jin revealed some of his aura, no one paid any attention to it. Soon, their group arrived in front of the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Lu Kuan immediately looked at their signboard. The 3 words, Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, seemed to be carved with a talisman crafting technique, emitting a different magic aura. Lu Kuan weighed the storage pouch at his waist and calculated the remaining spirit stones in his hand. His previous net worth could be said to be extremely generous. At the very beginning, he had spent more than 100,000 spirit stones in the Nanfeng market. The people pursued by the 10,000 Treasures Tower had many precious materials that were worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. Therefore, before he entered the southern Marsh province, he had more than 200,000 spirit stones left on him. After arriving at the southern Marsh province, Lu Kuan schemed and killed greedy people with evil intentions, earning more than 200,000 spirit stones one after another. His net worth reached close to 500,000 spirit stones, which was equivalent to 5,000 mid-tier spirit stones. It was comparable to the net worth of an ordinary early core formation stage cultivator. However, after that, there were so many rank 1 talismans. In addition, he had spent a lot of money to collect the blood-clotting grass, which had cost him about 300,000 spirit stones. Fortunately, the last cultivator he killed in the southern Marsh province 2 months ago had a high net worth. Currently, he had about 300,000 spirit stones left on him. These spirit stones can at least buy 20 to 30 rank 1 talismans? That's it, Lu Kuan muttered to himself as he walked into the place that was about to burn his spirit stones. After entering the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, Lu Kuan and the others saw 6 counters that were more than 10 feet wide. Each counter was engraved with the words metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and variant. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. The Heavenly Talisman Pavilion really lives up to its reputation. Only one type of magic talisman? Only because they have a large stock of it. It seems that the Heavenly Talisman sect also has a secret technique for cultivating magic techniques in addition to talisman crafting technique. Otherwise, if they weren't proficient in magic techniques, they wouldn't be able to craft so many talismans. There must be quite a few cultivators with variant spirit roots. If that's the case, the talisman crafting grandmasters among the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciples are definitely not weak. Just as Lu Kuan was observing, a Heavenly Talisman sect disciple walked over. He said, "Fellow Taoist, how may I help you?" Lu Kuan smiled faintly and began to inquire about the Heavenly Talisman sect's mid-tier rank 1 talismans. Come. Just as Lu Kuan was busy buying talismans, at this moment, a blue-haired woman appeared at the entrance of the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion and murmured, "Damned Huamei. She stole my demon token's spot. My martial uncles are too biased." At this time, there were still quite a number of cultivators in the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Many of them, including Lu Kuan, had a change in expression when they heard the demon token. The strange token obtained from the Myriad Treasures Tower cultivator was obediently stored in Lu Kuan's storage bag. Because the material on it was rather strange and the word demon was engraved on it, it left a deep impression on Lu Kuan. Could it be that this token is called the demon token? She even mentioned the Fire Lady. Could it be that the Fire Lady is a disciple of the Heavenly Talisman sect? Many cultivators in the hall turned their heads to look at the woman at the entrance. She had a head of blue hair and a light blue robe with the Heavenly Talisman sect's emblem on it. Her looks were rather ordinary, but her big, bright eyes added a bit of charm to her. At this moment, she had a gloomy look on her face. Lu Kuan's heart skipped a beat when he felt the fluctuation of dermic powers from the blue-robed woman. The aura she exuded was that of a perfected Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator. However, her dermic powers were unstable. It was very likely that she had just broken through. "What are you looking at? Can't I just complain a little?" The blue-robed woman was in an extremely bad mood. She glanced at the cultivators in the hall who were staring at her and glared back at them. "So it's the Water Fairy. I've been rude. Water Fairy, feel free to throw a tantrum. Do you think we're counting on the water attribute talismans refined by the Water Fairy?" The blue-robed woman revealed a look of disdain. She ignored them and walked up the stairs. When she disappeared down the stairs, the cultivators in the hall began to whisper. "It seems like the Fire Fairy is back. Hee, it's obvious that the Fire Fairy stole the Water Fairy's demon token spot." "You can't say that she stole it. The Fire Fairy reached the perfected Foundation Establishment realm a few years ago. According to the order, it should be the Fire Fairy." Lu Kuan was even more confused about the demon token when he heard these people's discussions. Fellow Taoist Lu, what's wrong?" Chapter 321. Lu Kuan looked at the 30 talismans placed in front of him and felt his heart ache. However, he still took out a bulging storage pouch and tossed it to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple. The discussions in the hall also stopped. These cultivators' expressions were like mortals who saw a noble. Their faces were filled with disbelief and shock. An early Foundation Establishment cultivator spent 280,000 spirit stones to buy talismans? Cultivators like them, who were doing well, only had around 20,000 spirit stones. They simply couldn't believe that this early Foundation Establishment cultivator had so many spirit stones. However, even if he had so many spirit stones, why would he buy 30 mid-grade top-grade talismans? That's right. In their minds, if these spirit stones were exchanged for cultivation increasing medicinal pills, this person would be able to advance from early Foundation Establishment to mid-Foundation Establishment in a short amount of time. So many talismans? Even if a core formation cultivator doesn't die, they would at least lose a layer of skin. Could it be that he wants to deal with a core formation cultivator? The Foundation Establishment cultivators present couldn't help but have this thought. Check these 30 talismans one by one? Afterwards, Lu Kuan said, "These talismans? No problem. However, I have a question to ask fellow Taoists." The Heavenly Talisman sect's Foundation Establishment cultivator put away the spirit stones with a smile. The person in front of him was his big client. To have so many spirit stones, he definitely wasn't simple. He hurriedly replied, "Fellow Taoists, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask." Just now, that fairy mentioned the fiendish devil command. I remember my master once mentioned it to me. However, he went out on a journey later on and didn't have time to tell me. I wonder if fellow Taoist could tell me. Lu Kuan had previously noticed that when the blue-robed woman mentioned the fiendish devil command, at least half of the Foundation establishment cultivators in the hall revealed a different expression. It was very clear that this fiendish devil command was known by many cultivators in the state of Chu. It wasn't a secret that couldn't be spoken of. The Heavenly Talisman Sex cultivator muttered to himself for a moment. Then, he thought about the methods of this cultivator surnamed Lu. His master was very likely a powerful core formation cultivator. Soon after, he looked at the surrounding cultivators and said in a low voice, "Since it's like this, fellow Taoist might as well sit with me in the side hall for a moment." However, fellow Taoist followers, Lu Kuan nodded and had Huang Xiaoyun and the others wait outside. At the same time, he also had Xiao Jin outside. It was very safe in the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Then, he followed the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple into a side hall. The side hall had an isolation formation, so the people in the hall couldn't see what was going on here. Fellow Taoist can be considered of the Heavenly Talisman. Lu Kuan said politely, "I've long heard from Master that the Heavenly Talisman Sect's talisman crafting technique is extremely powerful. This time, he also asked me to buy some talismans for him." The Heavenly Talisman Sect disciple revealed an expression of understanding. He continued, "Fellow Taoist, you asked about the demon token. I wonder how your master mentioned it." Lu Kuan seemed to be reminiscing as he said, "That day, Master seemed to have said that there was news of the demon orders, and then he left the cave. I wonder if you could tell me where Master went?" The Heavenly Talisman Sect's disciple said thoughtfully, "It seems your master went to look for the demon token. He should be planning to sell it. After all, with fellow Taoist's current cultivation, he has no use for this token. Please enlighten me. In any case, your master will tell fellow Taoist about it. This demon token can be considered a miraculous item. When it first appeared, it happened to be many years ago when we humans were fighting with the demon beasts overseas. At that time, in the largest battle between humans and demonic beasts, several late nascent soul stage cultivators from the Chu country were fighting with a Class 10 demonic beast." Lu Kuan's expression changed. Could it be a Class 10 demonic beast comparable to a late nascent soul stage cultivator? That's right. When experts of this level fight, it's like heaven and earth are in chaos. In the end, when they combine their strength, they seem to have triggered some kind of restriction. Many strange tokens were released from the void. These tokens were the demon tokens. The battle between the two sides stopped, and they started fighting over this demon token. According to rumors, the demonic beasts also obtained many demon tokens at that time. After that, the sects that participated in the battle all studied this demon token. However, they couldn't find anything. They only knew that this token emitted a strange fluctuation when it was infused with magic power. On the second day after the demon token was released, at the same place, a huge island suddenly appeared out of thin air. However, this island was covered with restrictions. Even when several late nascent soul stage cultivators and Class 10 demonic beasts worked together, they couldn't break through the restrictions. At that time, they thought of the demon token. After a series of experiments, they discovered that only cultivators below the core formation stage who used this demon token could enter the huge island under the strange fluctuation emitted by the demon token. Under the investigation of many Foundation establishment stage cultivators, the situation on the island gradually became known. This huge island is a treasure trove that no one has discovered. There are a few places on the island that are abnormally rich in spiritual qi. Even the Tao One sect doesn't have as much spiritual qi as the island. No one knows how long this island has been hidden. There are many remnant abodes of cultivators on the island. Some of the herbs in the abodes have already grown to an extremely old age. It's a treasure trove for us immortal cultivators. After this island appeared for 3 years, it would return to the void and never appear again. Immortal cultivators who didn't come out within 3 years would stay inside forever. After that, this island would appear once every 300 years. Only those with a demon token could enter. Later on, this island became known as the Demon Island. After listening for a long time, Lu Kuan finally revealed a look of realization. With the demon token, you can enter the Demon Island. Just the abodes of ancient cultivators on the island are enough to attract the attention of core formation stage and even nascent soul stage cultivators. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple shook his head and said, "That was a long time ago. After so many years of development on the Demon Island, most of the ancient cultivators' abodes have already been explored. What's left are restrictions that Foundation establishment stage cultivators can't break. The reason why we're fighting for the demon token now is because of the rich spiritual chi on the Demon Island." Spiritual chi. That's right. I previously said that with your current cultivation, you wouldn't be able to use it because the rich spiritual chi on the island is no less than the best spiritual herbs for Foundation establishment stage cultivators. It's too much of a waste for early and middle Foundation establishment stage cultivators. With the help of the spiritual chi on the island, a Foundation establishment stage cultivator's chances of breaking through to the core formation stage are 30% higher than outside. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple's face was filled with envy. For us ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivators, even if we're well prepared and obtain the extremely precious Heavenly Transformation Pill, our chances of breaking through to the core formation stage are only 30%. Therefore, as long as we're well prepared, even if we're not as talented, our chances of breaking through to the core formation stage on the Demon Island can reach 60%. This is enough to make all Foundation establishment stage cultivators go crazy. The demon token can only be used by the same person twice. After one entry and one exit, it'll be scattered all over the sea. Many sects are fighting for this demon token. Lu Kuan muttered, "They'll definitely fight for it. This demon token means a core formation stage cultivator." Then, Lu Kuan shook his head and cupped his fist. "Thank you, fellow Taoist, for clearing my doubts. It seems that even if Master obtains the demon token, I won't be able to use it. Fellow Taoist Lu, if your Master doesn't have any other Foundation establishment stage cultivators, then this demon token will definitely be sold at the auction house on the Abyss Island. Fellow Taoist, you'll definitely meet your Master on the Abyss Island. The Demon Island isn't far from the Abyss Island. Many cultivators have recently rushed to the Abyss Island. After all, there's still about 2 years before the Demon Island appears. Some core formation stage and even nascent soul stage cultivators will take out the demon token for auction. Chapter 322. After listening to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple's description, Lu Kuan finally understood the importance of the demon token. It was a top-grade pill that could increase the chances of forming a core by 30%. It was enough to make any Foundation establishment cultivator go crazy. It's a pity that Senior Brother Qin might not even reach the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm in the past 2 years. If he were 100 years later, Senior Brother Qin would definitely reach the core formation realm with the help of the heaven-changing pill, the ancient Foundation establishment technique, and the spiritual energy of the Demon Island. Lu Kuan sighed in his heart. Spiritual chi is indeed useful for body refinement arts, but it only manifests in ordinary cultivation. For example, when I'm using top-grade spells to bombard my body, I don't need much spiritual chi. I only need spirit stones to recover my magic power. But I don't know if pure spiritual chi is useful for body refinement breakthroughs. Lu Kuan shook his head and threw away his thoughts. He said to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple who was also pondering, "That's right. Do you know if the Heavenly Talisman sect has any special spell talismans?" Do you have any mid-grade or top-grade ones? What? Does fellow Taoist want to buy special spell talismans? Lu Kuan nodded and said, That's right. But I only want offensive ones. What do you have here? The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple smiled bitterly and said, If fellow Taoist wants some mid-grade, or high-grade special spell talismans, we can reluctantly take them out. As for top-grade special talismans, even my Heavenly Talisman Pavilion rarely sells them. Lu Kuan frowned and said, But I just saw a special spell talisman counter outside. Fellow Taoist Lu might not know about special spell talismans. They require cultivators with special spiritual roots to refine. However, refining top-grade special spell talismans is extremely difficult. Even cultivators with special spiritual roots have a hard time mastering them. Currently, only our Foundation Establishment's senior martial brother can refine Wind Attribute top-grade talismans. Wind Attribute? Lu Kuan shook his head helplessly. He had seen Nye Wufeng's attack methods. The Wind Attribute spell talismans were extremely sharp and the cutting power was incomparably fierce. There was no way to use it to temper the body. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple suddenly slapped his head and said, I remember now. We still have an Ice Attribute Freezing Essence spell talisman here. Was it refined by that martial uncle? A failure. Lu Kuan asked doubtfully, Freezing Essence technique? I don't think I've heard of this spell before. The Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple explained, It's normal that fellow Taoist hasn't heard of it. This Freezing Essence technique is a high-level technique. Core formation stage cultivators are able to release ice element high-level beginner-level ice magic. Once, when this martial uncle was in a very good state, he tried to refine this high-level talisman. But in the end, for some reason, the refinement failed. This failed product of the Freezing Essence art was sold to our Heavenly Talisman sect. When Lu Kuan heard that it was a failed high-grade spell, he was ecstatic. A spell refined by a core formation cultivator with an ice spirit root was definitely not an ordinary spell. A failed high-grade ice attribute spell would definitely be more powerful than an authentic thunder fall technique. I want this. How much is fellow Taoist selling this? The Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple said with some hesitation. At that time, we set the price at 30,000 spirit stones. However, I need to ask the pavilion master. Fellow Taoist, please wait for a moment. Fellow Taoist, you can let my followers in now, right? No problem. After saying that, the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple hurriedly walked out. Soon after, Huang Xiaoyun and the others also walked in. Lu Kuan carefully sensed with his physical nerve. When he didn't find any divine sense spying, he said to Xiao Jin, this market square might have blood coagulation grass. Listen carefully. When Lu Kuan saw the faint golden light appearing on the little monkey's ears, he couldn't help but think of the blood coagulation grass he bought before. It was Xiao Jin who heard about the blood coagulation grass in the market square. That was why Lu Kuan intervened and bought it at a high price. In the market square, unless there was a formation that blocked the divine sense of a core formation cultivator, nothing could escape Xiao Jin's spirit ears. Lu Kuan and the others waited here for about a quarter of an hour before they heard someone walking towards the side hall. Lu Kuan looked outside and found that it wasn't the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple from before, but the blue-robed woman. The Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple obediently followed behind the woman. The woman's eyes flashed brightly. Her pupils were slightly blue. She curiously looked at Lu Kuan and said, It's you. You want to buy Master's Freezing Essence Technique Talisman? Is that so? When Lu Kuan saw this female cultivator called Water Fairy come in, a look of surprise flashed across his face. He cupped his fists and said, So Water Fairy's master refined this talisman? Your master's talisman crafting technique has really reached an unfathomable level. The blue-robed woman curled her lips and said, You know your stuff. But let me tell you, this talisman? It's not for spirit stones. Lu Kuan was taken aback. Then he understood the meaning behind her words and asked, "Water Fairy wants to barter?" The blue-robed woman said, "That's right. This freezing essence technique talisman? I have the authority to help Master deal with it. I don't lack spirit stones." Lu Kuan looked at the heavenly talisman sect's disciple behind the woman. That disciple looked at Lu Kuan with a wry smile. His expression was extremely helpless. "What does the water fairy want in exchange?" The blue-robed woman fiddled with her long blue hair. She lowered her head and thought for a moment. Then she said, "I seem to be lacking a suitable immortal treasure. I've just entered the great circle of Foundation establishment. I feel like my previous level 3 spiritual immortal treasure can't unleash its full power." After hearing this, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. He carefully observed the woman in front of him. Who knew that this woman's cultivation technique was extraordinary? She immediately sensed Lu Kuan's probing. Her dense water attribute immortal powers surged. "Don't misunderstand, Fairy. Lu is only confirming the attribute of your cultivation technique. Now it seems that Fairy cultivates a top-tier water attribute cultivation technique. Lu happens to have a set of immortal treasures refined by my master." When Lu Kuan looked at the blue-robed woman, she instantly felt as if her clothes had been stripped off. She stood naked in front of him. She was both embarrassed and frightened. But when she saw Lu Kuan take out 2 aqua-blue longswords, she threw these emotions to the back of her mind. The 2 swords were exactly the same. The aura on them was as vast as the sea, but also as clear as a mountain stream. They emitted a pure water attribute aura that made her feel very close to them. The blue-robed woman subconsciously summoned the 2 longswords into her hands and carefully examined them. Lu Kuan saw the woman's expression in his eyes, and he was quite proud in his heart. This 3rd-level set of longswords was a set of Immortal Treasures Tower's brothers. However, after Lu Kuan's transformation and refinement, not only did he add a lot of precious materials, but he also transformed the internal array. The power was completely different from before. At this time, even if the 2 brothers of Immortal Treasures Tower came back to life, they probably wouldn't recognize this pair of longswords. After Lu Kuan engraved the spirit-controlling array on his body, he had a new breakthrough in his understanding of refining, and his level of refining went up a level. If his martial Uncle Nye and martial Uncle Zhu saw this magic weapon, they might also praise it. Dang. Under the blue-robed woman's perfect foundation establishment stage spiritual power and divine sense, the pair of longswords easily combined together and turned into a longsword as thin as a cicada's silk. Then, like a blue lightning dragon, it shuttled quickly in this side hall. Its speed was extremely fast. The blue-robed woman stared fixedly at the combined longswords, her face full of joy. "Good, I'll trade for this set of immortal treasures." Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Fairy, you've also felt the power of this pair of jade wave-nimble swords." According to the price of spirit stones, 30,000 spirit stones can only buy one of them. The blue-robed woman wasn't an immortal cultivator who hadn't seen the world. When she was controlling this pair of immortal treasures, she realized that her previous level 3 spiritual immortal treasures weren't worth much. The speed at which they combined with the longsword surprised her even more. 30,000 spirit stones per sword was worth this price. Seeing the woman hesitate, Lu Kuan said, "Fairy Water, I won't use spirit stones for the other sword. Why don't you use a mid-grade top-tier talisman? How about a trade?" Chapter 323. Half an hour later, Lu Kuan left the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion with Huang Xiaoyun and the others. Freezing talisman? It really lives up to its name. Just by holding it with my hand I can feel a bit of coldness. Anyway, I should buy it first. Maybe I can use it when I break through the early stage of Foundation establishment. It's a pity about that pair of Azure Wave Light Spirit swords. Forget it. Anyway, I have all kinds of basic materials on me. It's not that difficult to forge a new set of magic tools. Let's break through first. Just as Lu Kuan was thinking, the little monkey on his shoulder suddenly pulled him and whispered in his ear. Lu Kuan's face lit up after hearing this. He looked diagonally ahead and saw a young man in a yellow robe walking out of an inconspicuous house. The yellow-robed man looked ordinary. His skin was very pale, as if he was malnourished. It was a little strange. Although he restrained his spiritual power cultivation, Lu Kuan's golden eyes could see clearly that this person had the cultivation of the late stage of foundation establishment. Then the yellow-robed man looked around casually and walked out. Lu Kuan followed him unhurriedly, then rapped him and Xiao Jin with his divine sense and asked, "What's the matter? Xiao Jin, is this the disciple of the red refining sect you mentioned?" Squeak, squeak. It turned out that when Lu Kuan walked out of the Heavenly Talisman sect, Xiao Jin heard the words, Red Refining Sect. Of course, it knew that people from this sect were likely to have blood coagulation grass, so it immediately told Lu Kuan this. "You don't have to make a sound. Just follow me." Then Lu Kuan followed the yellow-robed man from a distance. With his golden eyes and Xiao Jin's spiritual ears, as long as this person's flying speed was average, Lu Kuan was confident to keep up. The disciple of the Red Refining Sect in front of him was likely to have a 500-year-old blood coagulation grass. This alone was enough to make Lu Kuan follow. Not long after, the yellow-robed man entered a rather ordinary-looking shop. According to Xiao Jin's description, this person bought some intermediate talismans. Did this person buy all the talismans that can control one's soul? Could it be that the cultivation method of the Red Refining Sect requires the cooperation of such spells? Just as Lu Kuan was wondering what kind of talisman this person had bought, he suddenly realized something. At this moment, the yellow-robed man walked out again, and then he directly walked out of the market. After leaving the market, the suspected yellow-robed man of the Red Refining Sect summoned a flying magic weapon and flew in one direction. After a while, Lu Kuan and his party also followed. I happened to pass by the Heavenly Talisman Sect's market square and bought some mid-grade bewitching talismans. That way, those kids won't be able to escape. The yellow-robed man muttered to himself. After flying for about 20 miles, they arrived at a hill. There was a cave in the middle of the hill that was clearly carved out by a knife or an axe. He landed at the entrance of the cave with flashing restrictions and threw a voice transmission talisman in his hand. After a while, the restriction at the entrance of the cave opened. The yellow-robed man's divine sense first probed inside, and a smile appeared on his pale face as he walked in directly. This cave was extremely simple. It was just an ordinary cave. At this time, there was a young woman in the cave. This woman looked somewhat beautiful, but her skin was the same as the yellow-robed man's, which was abnormally pale. "Senior brother, did it go well?" the woman asked. Her voice was slightly hoarse. She did not sound like a young woman, but like a middle-aged woman in her 30s or 40s. "Junior sister, we have dealt with the Heavenly Talisman Sect before. Their talismans are still very good." As he spoke, the yellow-robed man looked at a corner of the cave. He saw 2 men and a woman in this corner. They all had their heads lowered, and their bodies were tied up by a rope-like magic weapon. This rope-like magic weapon emitted a blood-red light, which slowly sank into their bodies. Beside these 3 people, there was a silver leopard lying on the ground. However, this little leopard's body was covered with talismans. It looked extremely dispirited. The woman looked at Junior Leopard and then at the 3 trapped men and women. She sighed and said, "Senior brother, meeting these 3 guys this time is a great opportunity for us. This silver-spotted leopard is still okay, but the key is these 3 people. I just carefully checked again. The chi and blood in their bodies are even stronger than mine in the late stage of foundation establishment. They can totally be used as foundation establishment cultivators in the Great Completion. The 3 of them are all like this. It must be because of their cultivation method. If this cultivation method is obtained by our red refining sect, we can raise some cultivators to practice this cultivation method. In a short period of time, we can obtain high-level blood essence. The yellow-robed man revealed a look of yearning as he said, "That's right. These people look so young. At most, they've cultivated for 10 to 20 years. Any foundation establishment cultivator in the sect can afford to wait for such a long time." The man recalled and said, "Marshal Uncle Ren is a genius. He has already reverse-engineered the new red refining demonic skill from the sect's cultivation method. And our senior brother is practicing the new version of the red refining demonic skill. He fumbled by himself and spent 200 years to finally reach the great completion of foundation establishment." When the yellow-robed man spoke, his face was full of admiration as if he worshipped the senior brother he mentioned. The woman also seemed to be very excited. She said, "The power of senior brother's red refining demonic skill is amazing. I'm afraid that even core formation cultivators can't do anything to him for a while. If senior brother's red refining demonic skill succeeds in core formation, then, so this time, the Demon Island is a chance given to our red refining sect by the heavens. It also sent us this opportunity." As he spoke, the yellow-robed man looked at the man and woman in the corner again. "Eldest senior brother told us that even on the Demon Island, the probability of forming the gold core is still not high. In addition to the help of the special scarlet blood vitality pill, we also need a large amount of fresh blood essence from peak foundation establishment cultivators. Now that the Demon Island overseas is about to appear, even if there are many cultivators at the great completion of foundation establishment, it won't be easy to make a move. After all, the top 10 sects will send disciples over this time. And these people in front of us are different. Their cultivation is in the chi refinement stage, and their physical body and chi blood are no less than cultivators at the peak of foundation establishment. If it's really as we guessed, the opportunity for the red refining sect to rise has finally arrived." The woman said with a fanatical face, "This time we won't be as stupid as before. After senior brother succeeds in forming his core, he will definitely develop in secret and assassinate cultivators in the depths of the sea to prepare for condensing his nascent soul. If there is no problem with these people's cultivation methods, we will solve the problem of blood essence within the sect. In the future, there will be more and more core formation cultivators practicing the red refining demonic skill." Suddenly, the yellow-robed man's expression changed. He laughed and said, "Kid, your spiritual sense is not weak. You must have woken up. However, even if you heard what we said, it's useless." A man with a heroic face in the corner raised his head. If Lu Kuan saw this face, he would realize that this young man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes was Zhao Qingtian. They didn't know when they were captured by the people of the red refining sect. Zhao Qingtian stared at the yellow-robed man and said, "Yes, I heard your words. It's useless. We can't escape from two late foundation establishment stage cultivators. But, if I commit suicide, I don't think it will be of any use to you." The yellow-robed man snorted and said, "Your mana is now controlled. You can't even commit suicide." Zhao Qingtian said in a deep voice, "You also know that our blood and qi are vigorous. It's easy for us to mobilize our blood to burst the heart." The yellow-robed man was a little surprised and said, "Kid, I don't have the idea of killing you. If you tell us the cultivation method, we cannot kill you at all. Even the red refining sect can let you teach disciples." Seeing that Zhao Qingtian's expression was a little loose, the yellow-robed man suddenly threw out a talisman. It turned into a black light and shot towards Zhao Qingtian. "You?" Zhao Qingtian was trapped in place. Before he could react, the black light hit his forehead and he fainted. "I didn't expect that the talisman I just bought would be used. This is an intermediate and intermediate soul-subduing talisman. You can't break free. Chapter 324. Junior Sister, let's set off earlier. This time, not only did we successfully complete the mission, but we also have additional gains. Maybe the Marshall uncles will help us enter the Great Circle of Foundation establishment and let us enter the Demon Island. The woman from the Red Refining sect revealed a look of surprise and said, "Senior brother, are you serious?" The yellow-robed man smiled and said, "This mission is to obtain the demon token from that small family. The sect originally promised us that the reward would be the heaven-changing pill and the scarlet blood pill. Now we are very likely to have found the solution to the scarlet blood demonic technique. This is a great contribution. The Marshall uncles in the sect are never stingy with their rewards. We are all at the peak of the late stage of Foundation establishment. With their help, we can break through to the Great Circle of Foundation establishment within 2 years. After entering the Demon Island, advancing to the core formation stage is a certainty." The woman frowned and said, "But second senior brother's quota will be cancelled." The yellow-robed man showed a bit of disdain and said, "I definitely don't dare to compete with eldest senior brother. Although second senior brother is powerful, when we reach the Great Circle of Foundation establishment, we won't be too far behind him. Then let's hurry back and report to the Marshall uncles." "Okay." Then, the woman waved her hand. The blood-red whip flashed slightly and floated towards her with Zhao Qingtian and the other two. The yellow-robed man put the dispirited silver-spotted leopard on the ground into the spirit beast bag. After the two of them removed the formation at the entrance of the cave, the woman summoned a light red flying boat. When she was about to jump on the flying boat, the yellow-robed man's divine sense suddenly felt 2 auras appear not far away. He couldn't help but look up. 100 feet away, an ape the size of an ordinary person roared towards the sky. There was a wisp of dark black light flashing in the ape's claws. The demonic aura on its body was comparable to that of a level 3 demonic beast. In front of the ape was a rapidly spinning purple whirlwind. It seemed to be spinning faster and faster. A figure could be vaguely seen in it, exuding the mana fluctuations of the early stage of Foundation establishment. Although the cultivation of this person and beast was ordinary, the yellow-robed man felt a very strong threat of death for no reason. He subconsciously shouted, "Junior sister, defend!" As he spoke, he quickly put up a magic barrier and hurriedly took out an extremely sturdy black round shield from his storage bag. When the woman heard the yellow-robed man's warning, she immediately activated her magic power barrier. However, she didn't seem to take the opponents in front of her seriously. She didn't summon any defensive magic tools, and only used the light red flying boat to block in front of them. Just as the two of them were done, the ape had already turned around and smashed the dark light in his hand into the purple whirlwind that had accelerated to the extreme. Clang! As soon as the 2 red refining sect disciples heard a crisp sound, the dark light had already arrived in front of them. The light red flying boat in front of them was like tofu as it was penetrated by the black light. Crack, crack. A few cracks appeared on the light red flying boat where the black light had passed through. In the blink of an eye, the cracks had spread to the entire flying boat. This flying magic tool that could be considered a top-grade flying magic tool shattered into countless pieces and scattered on the ground. The yellow-robed man was sweating profusely. The moment the black light passed through, he even thought that he was in the river of death. He had only felt this feeling from the core formation stage cultivators in the sect. Although he was extremely panicked, the yellow-robed man quickly took out 2 talismans with powerful magic power fluctuations. After taking a picture of himself, he said, "Junior sister, the enemy is too terrifying. We have to work together to use the red demon technique to have a chance of survival." At the same time, he took out the remaining defensive talisman. He patted the woman on the side. A light yellow thick shield enveloped the woman, but the female cultivator of the red refining sect looked sluggish and her pupils dilated. Her body seemed to be too weak to withstand the wind. The breeze brought by it blew her backward. Junior sister. The yellow-robed man supported the woman through the shield. After taking a closer look, he found that his junior sister's forehead was bleeding. The wound in the middle was so thin that it couldn't be seen, as if it was only the size of a fingernail. It was inconspicuous. Not good. The man's expression changed drastically. His body's magic power suddenly surged and poured into the shield in front of him. At the same time, he threw his junior sister's warm body and the shield forward. Dang! Another black light flashed out. The talisman that was thrown out of the woman's body? The shield broke and passed through the woman's body. Then it hit the man's black shield. The yellow-robed man immediately felt a terrifying force appear on the shield. This brute force directly caused this seemingly powerful shield to become dim and dull. Puff! The yellow-robed man couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, but his face showed joy. Although his level 3 psychic shield was damaged, this black light was blocked after all. But before he could be completely happy, he sensed another black light flying over. Impossible! How can a Foundation establishment stage cultivator use this level of attack 3 times? The yellow-robed man was terrified and immediately burned the magic power of the late Foundation establishment stage. The originally dim black round shield shone brightly and even let out a series of groaning sounds. This shield had been activated to its maximum power. Dang! Another sound came out, but this time it wasn't clear. Although the yellow-robed man's shield was activated to its maximum power, it was seriously damaged before. This time, it was directly penetrated by the dark black light and lost a lot of spirit power, falling to the ground. The black light then hit the man's mid-level high-grade defensive talisman. Although it penetrated the shield and the power of the black light decreased a lot, it still broke this mid-level high-grade defensive shield. Fortunately, the yellow-robed man's last layer of Foundation establishment stage shield blocked the dissipated power of the black light. At this time, he discovered that this black light was a 3-inch long black fingernail magic tool. What? There's more. The yellow-robed man sensed the 4th black light flying over from afar and showed a look of despair. He could only subconsciously burn his magic power into the shield and take out a few more talismans. He threw them on himself without any hesitation. Poochie! Without the protection of the powerful defensive magic tool, the yellow-robed man's shields were like thin layers of rice paper, easily penetrated by the black fingernail. After the magic power shield disappeared, blood gradually flowed out from the yellow-robed man's forehead, and he fell down with a plop. Lu Kuan walked forward with a pale face. Looking at the 2 silent enemies, he said to the little monkey who had returned to his original size, "Xiao Jin, I remember last time we used 3 netherworld claws to barely block the attack of a core formation stage cultivator's magic tool." Squeak squeak. A core formation stage cultivator is indeed powerful. We just used 3 attacks to kill this Foundation establishment stage cultivator. He even burned his magic power in the end. This means that a core formation stage cultivator's magic tool can easily kill a Foundation establishment stage cultivator. Fortunately, we didn't meet them face to face when we were escaping. Otherwise, we would have died either way. Lu Kuan recalled the scene of being chased by a core formation stage cultivator, and his forehead couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Soon after, he sighed, "I didn't expect you to catch my disciple. But you're unlucky to come out of this cave. Aren't you living targets?" In the past, when Senior Marshal Brother Qin and I used the saber formation, even Foundation establishment stage cultivators had to avoid it. Although this attack didn't have a flying dagger powered by magic power, the magic tool's material was even more powerful under our combined power. "Xiao Jin, go get the netherworld claws. I'll see how Qing Tian and the others are doing." Chapter 325. High up in the sky of Xiuan State of Chu, a white spirit shuttle shuttled through the clouds at a fast speed. Lu Kuan stood at the front. While controlling the spirit shuttle, he played with the black token in his hand. The front and back of the token were engraved with the words, Yao and Imo. These two disciples of the Red Refining Sect also have a demon token. I didn't expect to get 2 demon tokens by chance. According to the Water Fairy's performance that day, even in the top 10 sects, there are very few demon tokens. Lu Kuan then put the demon token in his hand into his storage bag. It's better to put it away. If a passing core formation cultivator sees it, it'll be over. After muttering for a while, Lu Kuan turned to look at the other people in the spirit shuttle. Huang Xiaoyun and Little Pan Yen were cultivating. The Zhao siblings and Yu Xian were sleeping. Looking at the sleeping disciples, Lu Kuan couldn't help but take out a wooden bracelet from his storage pouch. This wooden bracelet, Lu Kuan only wore it with the spirit control armor when he was cultivating. Just now, he tried to remove the soul-subduing spell for the 3 disciples. He found that with his divine sense that was close to the late stage of foundation establishment, he was still a little bit away from removing the spell. Later, he remembered the mysterious wooden bracelet that woke him up when he first met Shin Mengyao. He took it out and tried it. Then, with the cooperation of his divine sense and the wooden bracelet, he removed the mid-level and mid-level soul-subduing spell. I don't know where Zhang Yang found this wooden bracelet. Uncle Zhang didn't say it clearly before he died. Thanks to this wooden bracelet, my divine sense is so condensed. Unfortunately, my fighting style is special. If it was destroyed in a fierce battle like the previous spirit control armor, I wouldn't be able to find such a strange item. Meow. Suddenly, there was a cat's cry. Lu Kuan looked back in confusion and saw Little Gray struggling to stand up and let out a soft cry. When the little monkey heard this weak cry, its body began to tremble. In the end, it couldn't help but roll on the ground and laugh wildly. The little silver-spotted leopard looked at Xiao Jin, who was clutching his belly and laughing with anger in his eyes. However, he looked at his weak body and turned around, leaving Xiao Jin with a big silver butt. Xiao Jin, that's enough. Don't laugh at Xiao Hui. If you were to face those 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators alone, you wouldn't be any better. Don't look at how easily we killed them. The crimson magic technique they practiced was quite extraordinary. Creak creak. Don't be unconvinced. The Crimson Devil technique has a kind of divine ability that can corrupt other people's magic tools. After your staff's power was reduced by more than half, you are not their opponent at all. Lu Kuan had already found the cultivation method of the Scarlet Devil technique in their storage pouches. Although he couldn't cultivate it, he could still see a few powerful divine abilities of the Scarlet Devil technique. Master, I'm not dreaming, am I? Zhao Qingtian's spiritual sense was the strongest among the 3 disciples, so he was the first to recover. That black light, not good. This is that guy's illusion. When he saw Lu Kuan, his expression was stunned. Then, his expression changed drastically. He looked at the scene in front of him vigilantly. He was shocked by the authenticity of the illusion in his heart. Illusion your head. Xiao Jin hit him a few times and your second junior brother still hasn't woken up. Pa! Ouch. It hurts. Is it not an illusion? Pa. Master, eldest senior brother, I know I was wrong. Hey, eldest senior brother, you are at the foundation establishment stage. Can you be gentler? After a quarter of an hour, Yu Xian and Sher Chao also woke up. After listening to their master talk about what happened before, they suddenly felt like they had survived a disaster. Zhao Qingtian touched his face that was restored by the wood attribute spiritual power and asked curiously, Master, why did you let eldest senior brother listen to the Scarlet Refining Sect? Lu Kuan said angrily, I haven't asked you yet. I've already told you that I'm just mixing in the circle of qi condensation. How did I provoke the late stage of foundation, establishment, cultivator of the red refining sect? Zhao Qingtian sighed and said, Master, it's not that we were careless, but it's really a double whammy. When we were at the border between the Xiuan state and the Zhongyuan state, we encountered a rogue cultivator at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. He actually shamelessly attacked us. Fortunately, the defense of the body cultivator is strong. The three of us joined forces to block his attack. After that, Little Gray came out and scared him away. However, the scene of us resisting the foundation establishment stage cultivator was seen by the passing Scarlet Refining sect disciples. Later, we were easily subdued by the two of them. Master, you also know what happened after that. Lu Kuan listened to his story and was silent for a while. After Xiao Jin and I found out that they entered the cave, we let Xiao Jin eavesdrop on their conversation. Sigh, I didn't expect the Scarlet Blood demonic technique to reappear in the world. Master, you know about the Scarlet Blood demonic technique. I overheard it in the cave. Lu Kuan said in a deep voice. The Scarlet Blood demonic technique can break through a big realm easily with a large amount of blood essence of cultivators of the same level. Qin Tian, you know about the old ghost Morong back then. Don't you understand the threat of this technique to us? Zhao Qingtian thought of the conversation between the Scarlet Refining sect disciples in the cave, and his face turned pale. Moreover, the location of the Scarlet Refining sect is close to the sea. The three of you fought with the enemy and were all discovered by the passing Scarlet Refining sect disciples. Then, if we develop body cultivators in the sea, we will most likely attract the attention of the Scarlet Refining sect. After all, the blood essence of us body cultivators is completely comparable to the cultivators of a higher realm. It is the easiest elixir for them to break through a big realm when they cultivate the Scarlet Blood demonic technique. They will not provoke the people of the top 10 sects at all. Several disciples looked at each other. Except for Huang Xiaoyun and Little Panyan, the other two had heard about the old ghost Morong from Zhao Qingtian. Lu Kuan said in a heavy voice, although the Scarlet Refining sect is not one of the top 10 sects of the Chu state, there is a nascent soul stage cultivator in the sect. Even if the overall strength is not as good as our Yang clan, it is not that bad. We are definitely not their opponent. Lu Kuan's disciples were silent when they heard the words. However, if they did not go out to explore, experience, and look for opportunities in the immortal cultivation world, their cultivation would definitely not make much progress. But if there was a fierce battle outside, if they were discovered by the people of the Scarlet Refining sect in the sea, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lu Kuan thought for a while, waved his hand and said, You don't have to worry too much. If you encounter a battle later, just be honest and use the object control technique to control the magic weapon to attack the enemy, and cooperate with the spell attack during the period. Don't use the body cultivator's methods unless it is a last resort, do you hear me? Yes, master. Zhao Qingtian and the others looked a little gloomy. During this period of time, they had been alone in the Chu state and had already experienced the power of body cultivators. The three of them could even temporarily resist the attack of a cultivator of the foundation establishment stage. They were only at the late stage of the Qi refining stage. Huang Xiaoyun and Little Panyan had seen Lu Kuan's incomparably powerful combat power, so they did not use the body cultivator's methods. They were extremely aggrieved. Of course, Lu Kuan knew the thoughts of these disciples. He then said, Before the foundation establishment stage, you guys should cultivate honestly and steadily. As for the Scarlet Refining sect, I will think of a way. Otherwise, our plan to develop body cultivators in the sea can't be realized at all. After appeasing these disciples, Lu Kuan's heart was filled with killing intent. It seems that I have to go to the Demon Island. That senior brother of the Scarlet Refining sect must die. If he succeeds in forming the core and passes on the cultivation experience of the Scarlet Blood Devil technique, More and more disciples of the Scarlet Refining sect will cultivate this technique. Then there will be no place for body cultivators to survive in the sea. Chapter 326. All the cultivators and even mortals in the country of Chu knew that in the westernmost part of the country of Chu, there was a boundless ocean. However, tens of thousands of years ago, even cultivators didn't dare to enter the ocean. This was because at that time, the boundless ocean was the world of demonic beasts. In the unfathomable depths of the ocean, there were countless monsters with terrifying strength. The islands of various sizes were also filled with ferocious beasts rarely seen on land. Until tens of thousands of years ago, when the strength of Chu's cultivation world reached its peak, the internal resources were not enough to distribute. If they didn't expand their territory, then a large-scale war would break out between the major sections. In the end, after a discussion among the upper echelons of Chu's sects, they decided to join forces and launch an attack on the ocean near Chu. After 100 years of war, humans finally occupied the ocean closest to the coast and established many island cities. Among them, the most popular one among cultivators was the Abyss Island. On this day, in the sky above the dark blue ocean, 2 cultivators stood on a spirit shuttle and flew slowly. One of them was a middle-aged man wearing a red robe. He had a broad body and a plump body. He had an amiable expression on his face, and his eyes were slightly narrowed as he looked at the rising sun above the ocean. The other man looked younger. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and short hair. He was wearing a black suit that was slightly tight, outlining his strong and full muscles. When he stood next to the fat man beside him, they looked rather out of place. The man in the tight black robe was Lu Kuan. The plump man in the red robe was the peak lord of the Yang clan's morning sun peak, Zhu Xiaofeng. It had been a year since Lu Kuan left the Heavenly Talisman sect's market square. Lu Kuan looked at the slowly rising sun and the endless horizon. He deeply felt his own insignificance, and a sense of reverence for the sea grew in his heart. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the rather tranquil sea surface and said with some emotion, "Junior Marshal Brother Lu, I heard that when I was in Chu, before this sea area was conquered by cultivators, one could encounter all kinds of demonic beasts just by flying on it for a short while. Even on the shore, we can encounter fiend beasts above the 5th level. But now we have been flying from the shore to the sea for half a day, and we haven't encountered a single fiend beast. It can be seen that this area has been completely conquered by the immortal cultivators." However, Lu Kuan frowned and said, "We don't know how big this sea is. The number of demonic beasts in the deep sea is probably astonishing. I'm afraid that it will be very difficult to conquer the deep sea. Isn't this perfect? The immortal cultivators and the demon beasts are in a stalemate in the deep sea. All kinds of magical tools and treasures are being damaged very quickly. We can also take advantage of this opportunity to develop." But soon after, Zhu Xiaofeng said somewhat uncertainly, "However, Lu Shidi, are you really not intending to put all your efforts into developing body cultivation in the first 100 years? Lu Kuan said affirmatively, "That's right. I have told several senior brothers the reason. If the strength of the body cultivation is discovered by the Red Refining sect, then their disciples who recultivate the red blood demonic technique will definitely treat us as precious human-shaped elixirs and even raise us in captivity." Lu Kuan said again, "The main reason is that our strength is too weak. Zhao Qingtian and the others are still in the qi refining stage. After 100 years, they should all become body cultivators in the foundation establishment stage. In this case, their disguise ability will greatly increase, and they can also secretly recruit some disciples. At that time, their strength is not weak. Ordinary cultivators in the foundation establishment stage are not their opponent. Moreover, the number of core formation stage cultivators in the Red Refining sect is not large. It is difficult to encounter them, and their safety is greatly improved. Zhu Xiaofeng listened to Lu Kuan's steady words, and his heart was slightly relieved. He continued, in 100 years, junior brother may have reached the core formation stage. Junior brother's current strength is much stronger than that of martial uncle Nia. After the core formation stage, it will be even more unfathomable. At that time, other than the nascent soul stage old monsters in the red refining sect, the others will not have to be too afraid. Lu Kuan smiled bitterly and said, Senior brother Zhu, you think too highly of me. My future path is a blur. It is too difficult to cultivate to the core formation stage in 100 years. Zhu Xiaofeng shook his head and lamented, Junior brother, you are now at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Your cultivation progress is much faster than junior brother Qin's. Moreover, you have only been in the foundation establishment stage for a few years. Hearing this, Lu Kuan looked at his own body. The mana in his body was surging to the extreme, comparable to a cultivator in the middle of the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, the strength of his body had reached nearly 70,000 pounds. So, in the year after leaving the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, Lu Kuan had been using middle-grade, top-grade talismans? Body tempering, the strength of his bones was slowly increasing. In the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, other than the 30 top-grade talismans he bought at the beginning? Other than that, he also used the Jade Wave Nimble Sword and the Water Fairy of the Heavenly Talisman sect to exchange for a few top-grade talismans? And a freezing talisman. Along with each top-grade talisman? With the disappearance of the talismans, Lu Kuan's progress in bone tempering gradually slowed down. After all the talismans were used up, he was still a step away from the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Lu Kuan gritted his teeth and used the freezing talisman. However, he did not expect the freezing talisman to be so terrifying. If he had not used the giant arm theurgy and swallowed the last qi and blood pill to block part of the freezing talisman's power and increase his recovery speed, he might have been killed by the freezing talisman. The bone-chilling coldness was not something his current physical body could withstand. Fortunately, he managed to pull through in the end. His bones were filled with liquid mana, and the amount of mana had reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. However, Lu Kuan was not happy at all. The freezing talisman was used up and the last qi and blood pill was swallowed by him. It could be said that these two methods that he had prepared to break through to the foundation establishment stage were gone. Senior apprentice brother, although I have reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage, I have no clue how to break through at all. I have no idea how long it will take. Zhu Xiaofeng laughed. Lu Shidi, no one understands the essence of your self-created technique better than you. I remember you once said that you have already derived the technique for the foundation establishment stage. Therefore, breaking through this small realm is absolutely not a problem for you. A light flashed in Lu Kuan's mind and he muttered, That's right, I was thinking too much. Breaking through to the foundation establishment stage requires the body to be tempered. The foundation establishment stage also requires the bones to be tempered. However, breaking through to the foundation establishment stage does not require the body to transform. Letting Zhu Xiaofeng control the spirit shuttle, Lu Kuan lowered his head and pondered. According to my deduction, the foundation establishment stage mana is still liquid. The only difference is that the blood in the body also starts to contain mana. There is no need for the body to transform substantially. In the past, this layer of the Vajra esoteric art was to refine the marrow. It is only to let spiritual energy penetrate into the marrow cavity of the bones and slowly nourish the marrow. The marrow is the tissue of the spongy body. It cannot be roughly tempered like the bones. The outermost layer of the bones is the periosteum. Following that is the dense bone. These two layers are the hardest layer on the surface of our bones. It is also the place where I am currently filled with liquid mana. Further in is the marrow cavity and the cancellous bone. This is where the marrow is located. The marrow is where the human body produces blood. Therefore, what I need to do now is to let the liquid manna in the dense bone permeate into the marrow cavity and the cancellous bone. As long as the liquid manna fills the marrow, the blood cells will slowly contain manna. As long as I rush the liquid manna into the marrow, I will be able to break through the bottleneck of the foundation establishment stage. After Lu Kuan thought it through, his expression relaxed. This was actually very simple for him. At this time, what he needed was not the strength of the body, but the surging manna. As long as he had the support of dense spiritual energy, he could try to break through. Chapter 327. Zhu Xiaofeng saw Lu Kuan thinking for a while, and his expression relaxed. He knew that he had figured out the key point of the breakthrough, and he couldn't help but smile happily. After all, this junior brother was their hope for revenge. At this time, in their vision, some cultivators appeared one after another. Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes lit up. "Junior brother, we will soon reach the Abyss Island. There are more cultivators, and they look quite relaxed. I estimate that we are within 50 miles of the Abyss Island." According to the information we inquired, the Abyss Island has a rule that cultivators are not allowed to fight within 50 miles of the island. If they are discovered, they will be taken down by the patrol team of the Abyss Island. These patrol teams can even kill cultivators at any time. Lu Kuan had recovered from his thoughts. He nodded and said, "It is said that there is an elder council in the Abyss Island, which is composed of the nascent soul stage cultivators of the 10 major sections. In addition to the 10 nascent soul stage cultivators as elders, the nascent soul stage cultivators of the Tao Yi sect are also the honorary elders of the Abyss Island. The cultivators of this patrol team are the disciples of the 10 major sections. Every time, there is a core formation stage cultivator leading the team. Even if the nascent soul stage cultivators fight here, they have to consider the Elders' Council." Zhu Xiaofeng took a breath of the thick spirit with the smell of the sea, and said with some satisfaction, "The 10 major sects are the most profitable in the Abyss City. Naturally, they have to bear the responsibility for this huge island. In addition to the core formation stage cultivators, every cultivator who enters the island needs to pay spirit stones. This Abyss Island takes in hundreds and thousands of cultivators, and this island entrance fee is a source of income. Or apply for 100 years of residence in the Abyss Island and get the token of the Abyss Island, so that you don't have to pay spirit stones every time you enter and exit." Then Zhu Xiaofeng said with a bit of pain, "Unfortunately, this residence is just a pass. If you want to really live in it, you have to rent a cave house. It will cost thousands of mid-grade spirit stones for 100 years. The rental cost of the shop is even higher." Lu Kuan touched the storage bag and smacked his lips. Fortunately, the 2 red refining sect disciples are not small. We have calculated before that these spirit stones are enough for us to live for 100 years. With the spirit stones accumulated by several senior brothers, we should be able to afford the rental fee of the shop for 100 years. "Junior brother, that should be the Abyssal Island." Hearing this, Lu Kuan raised his head and looked ahead. Above the vast sea in front of him, there was a huge hazy fog. Behind the fog, a huge black island could be vaguely seen. Soon, Zhu Xiaofeng steered the spirit shuttle to the entrance of the Abyss Island, the only place without fog, just like the other cultivators nearby. It was the first time that some of the cultivators had come to Abyss Island. When they saw such a huge island, they began to discuss spiritedly. Their words also reached the ears of Lu Kuan and the others. According to the records, the Abyssal Island is 100 miles long and 40 to 50 miles wide. The entire island is a huge spiritual vein. It can be called a treasure land for cultivators. Yes, if the rent for 100 years was not too expensive, I would like to cultivate here for 100 years. Then, I would be able to enter the Great Completion Foundation establishment from the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Spirit Chi is one thing. On the other hand, it is extremely safe here. Look at the fog outside. It is the legendary 5 elements primary light formation. This is a formation passed down from the Star-Moon Pavilion from ancient times. It was set up with the cooperation of the 10 major sections. It is said that it can easily withstand the attack of a nascent soul stage cultivator. There is a law enforcement team of the 10 major sects inside. Even if you have many enemies, you don't have to worry in the Abyssal Island. Listening to the discussions around, Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng finally smiled. Here, the miraculous gate in the distant Wei Kingdom was no threat to them at all. After a while, they came to a relatively large coast. There were 2 entrances here. One was a protective wall formation. As long as one had a residence token, one could pass through the protective wall and directly enter the Abyssal Island. The other place was a passage that was glowing with spirit light. Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng threw 20 spirit stones into a magic tool basin at the side and walked in through the passage. After walking through the passage, their eyes suddenly lit up. What appeared in front of them was a very wide circular street. On the street, there were various kinds of shops and cultivators coming and going. They had already inquired about the internal structure of the Abyssal Island. The closer to the center of the Abyssal Island, the denser the spirit chi was. Therefore, the entire island was divided into 4 parts by 3 circular light curtains. The most central part of the Abyssal Island was the place with the most abundant spirit chi. The area was not large. Only nascent soul stage cultivators were qualified to live here, no matter how many spirit stones you had. Because of this, there were more than 10 nascent soul stage cultivators resident on the Abyssal Island. Even if the demon beasts in the deep sea attacked in large numbers, the Abyssal Island could hold on until reinforcements arrived from the inland. Beyond that was the inner area of the second ring. Most of the people here were core formation cultivators. Of course, there were also a few foundation establishment cultivators who lived here. As long as you could afford the high price of spirit stones, even if you were a chi condensation cultivator, you could still cultivate here for 100 years. After that was the area of the third ring. The spirit chi here was much thinner than the other 2 areas. Most cultivators lived here. The area of the third ring was very large and densely packed with countless cave residences. Although it was cheaper than the second ring, it was still not a place where ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators could afford to live. As for the area outside the third ring, it was where all the trading shops of the Abyssal Island were located. It was also called the Abyssal Market. There was only one street in this market. The streets were connected to each other, forming a circular street. Some cultivators also jokingly called it the Ring Market. Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng were currently standing on this circular street. Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes lit up as he looked at the bustling ring-shaped market square. This is a place to do business. Such a big market square, if it was in the past, I would never have believed it. Lu Kuan also sighed. Yes, even at the temporary trading point of the sect war, I have never seen so many cultivators gathered together. Zhu Xiaofeng was full of expectations for the future. He pointed to a pavilion not far away and said, "Junior brother, let's go to the Abyssal Pavilion first. That is where we can rent residences and shop. Let's see if there are any suitable shop." The corners of Lu Kuan's mouth curled up into a smile as he said, "I'll leave it to Senior Brother Zhu to arrange." Senior Brother Zhu has been a peak lord for the longest time and is the most experienced in handling such matters. Otherwise, the other senior brothers wouldn't have sent Senior Brother Zhu and me here. Chapter 328. Looking at the 2-story building, Zhu Xiaofeng said in a low voice, "Junior brother, you don't have to say anything. Let me handle it." Lu Kuan nodded without hesitation. Previously, Qin Yushu and the others had said that senior brother Zhu Xiaofeng had rich experience in this aspect. Personally handling these matters would definitely not make any mistakes, let alone reveal the slightest flaw. After all, the news that they were the remaining disciples of the Yang clan could not be leaked. There might be cultivators in Chu who knew about the art of puppet. Zhu Xiaofeng straightened his back, lowered his chin, and squinted his eyes. He brought Lu Kuan and walked slowly towards the Abyss Pavilion. In that instant, his entire temperament changed. He changed from a good-natured fatty to a cold and aloof cultivator with a hint of arrogance. Lu Kuan felt that this senior brother, who had been in charge of the Morning Sun Peak for many years, had a majesty that was not inferior to martial Uncle Nye. In the Yang clan, the Morning Sun Peak's overall strength was the strongest. Zhu Xiaofeng suppressed the disciples for more than 100 years. After they walked into the Abyss Pavilion, they heard voices coming from one of the rooms. "Fellow Taoist Su, can you make an exception and let me stay in the third ring for 20,000 spirit stones for 50 years? Fellow Taoist, this rule was set by the Council of Elders. If you want to make an exception, go find a nascent soul stage cultivator from the Council of Elders. I am useless. 30 years. Fellow Taoist Su, 20,000 spirit stones for 30 years. After all, 100 years is only 40,000 spirit stones. Fellow Taoist Yu." At this point, the voice stopped abruptly. It seemed that someone had used a sound barrier. However, Zhu Xiaofeng increased the volume of his footstep. Soon, there was another voice coming from the room. "The Council of Elders set a 100-year payment. Every time, we hand in 100 years' worth of spirit stones. Fellow Taoist should save up 40,000 spirit stones before coming. I won't send you off." Then, Lu Kuan and the others, who had just walked out of the room, saw a gloomy old man walk out. This person was in the late foundation establishment stage. His cultivation level was similar to Zhu Xiaofeng's. The man sighed as he walked out. He didn't even look at Lu Kuan and the others. After Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Kuan waited for the others to leave, they directly walked into the room. Inside the room was a man wearing a black robe with the symbol of an oval-shaped island on it. In addition, there was a large sand table placed in the middle. Lu Kuan could see at a glance that the sand table depicted the abyssal island. Most of the sand table was glowing red, and only a few areas were glowing blue. The black-robed man was still cursing in his heart at the person who had ruined his plans. In that situation, he had the opportunity to fill his own pocket. This person had to pay half of the 100-year spirit stones, and only stay for 30 years. As long as he sold the remaining 70 years to other Foundation establishment cultivators who wanted to break through, then after handing over 40,000 spirit stones, the rest would be his. After sensing that someone had entered the room, the black-robed man casually glanced at the two people who had entered. His expression was slightly stunned, and he immediately walked forward with a smile. To be able to get such a lucrative job, the black-robed man was definitely a shrewd person. When he saw Zhu Xiaofeng enter the room, he realized that this person was not simple. Although their cultivation was similar, both late Foundation establishment stage, the temperament on his body was exactly the same as the managers of the top 10 sects he had seen. This kind of person often represented a certain sect, so he couldn't neglect him. "Greetings, fellow Taoists. I'm Su Ming, responsible for renting cave residences and market shops on the Abyssal Island. May I know your names?" Although the black-robed man was talking to the two, his eyes were looking at Zhu Xiaofeng, who was walking in front. Lu Kuan, who was only early Foundation establishment stage in his eyes, was directly treated as a follower. Zhu Xiaofeng didn't look at the black-robed man directly, but looked at the sand table in front of him and said casually, "I'm Zhu Feng, here to rent shops and cave residences. Fellow Taoist, please introduce them to us." When the black-robed man heard this, he knew that his judgment was right. Without a foundation, ordinary foundation establishment cultivators couldn't even afford to rent cave residences, let alone shops. So the black-robed man began to introduce. I'll start with the cave residences. Fellow Taoist must already know that the abyssal island is divided into 4 areas. The innermost area for nascent soul stage seniors is not open to the public. As for the other areas, as long as there are spirit stones, we can rent them out. The area in the second ring is second only to the nascent soul stage cultivators. The spirit chi here is very rare even for core formation stage cultivators, so the rental fee for 100 years is 80,000 spirit stones. At this point, the black-robed man secretly glanced at the two's expressions. The red-robed man didn't show any surprise, but even the early foundation establishment stage follower didn't show any surprise. This made the black-robed man have some guesses about their value. He continued to introduce. The spirit chi in the third ring is slightly weaker, but it's completely enough for most foundation establishment stage cultivators. That fellow Taoist just now wants to use the spirit chi here to break through to the great circle of foundation establishment stage as soon as possible, but we can only rent it for 100 years. After talking for a long time, the black-robed man noticed that the red-robed man in front of him was focused on the shops in the outermost area. He knew that the two were still interested in the shops in the market. He hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Zhu, these are the shops in the market. We have 3 types of shops here. The lowest price is the small shop. They only have 1 floor and the area is not too big. They only have a front hall and an inner hall room. The price of a small shop is 80,000 spirit stones for 100 years, the same as the area in the second ring. The second type of shop is the medium-sized shop. This type of shop has 2 floors, and the area of the first floor is much larger than the second floor. The price is 150,000 spirit stones for 100 years. Zhu Xiaofeng suddenly asked, "What about the last type of shop?" The last type of shop is the large shop. It has a total of 3 floors, and the area of each floor is larger than the medium-sized shop. Moreover, this shop also has a large backyard. The backyard can be set up with 7 to 10 rooms according to the requirement. Moreover, for such a large shop, we will also connect its formation with the 5 elements Yuan light formation of the entire abyssal island. Even nascent soul stage seniors won't be able to break through, greatly increasing the security. Of course, the price of such a large shop is also very expensive. It is 300,000 spirit stones. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded with satisfaction and said without hesitation, "Good, I want such a large shop." The black-robed man was delighted at first, but then he seemed to have thought of something. He immediately looked at the sand table, and his face suddenly changed. Zhu Xiaofeng narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "What? Fellow Taoist can't sell such a large shop?" The black-robed man smiled bitterly and said, "I almost forgot to tell fellow Taoist that not long ago, all the large shops were rented out." Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He didn't move and just looked at the black-robed man indifferently. However, Lu Kuan behind him sneered. His body emitted a suffocating pressure that pressed down on the black-robed man. The black-robed man unconsciously took a step back. Cold sweat flowed down his face. He never thought that the early foundation establishment stage man behind him could give him such a strong pressure. It was as if he could easily kill him. He must be a core disciple of some big sect. Otherwise, how could he give off such a strong pressure? The 10 big sects of our Chu country have rented shops here. Could he be a big sect from another country? Chapter 329. After the black-robed man said this, Lu Kuan completely retracted his aura and turned back into an inconspicuous early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. The black-robed man was even more in awe of Zhu Xiaofeng now. With such a powerful cultivator as a follower, how could his own strength be weak? Why? This shop can be sublet? The black-robed man wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, because good shops are very popular, the 100-year time limit set by the Abyss City is a bit too long for some powerful sects who want to get a shop. So under the coordination of the elders, the shop can be transferred. As long as the original owner of the shop agrees and the other party pays a transfer fee, they can own the shop in advance. After that, they only need to pay a 100-year fee. Zhu Xiaofeng said thoughtfully. In other words, as long as I negotiate a transfer fee with this small sect, I can take over this large shop? That's right. The black-robed man seemed to have thought of something. He glanced at Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Kuan behind him and said carefully, but this small sect didn't offer a transfer fee. It's a bit different from other shops. Zhu Xiaofeng showed some curiosity and said, why? Don't they need spirit stones? The black-robed man said, you too should know that the Demon Island will appear in a year. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and said with some indifference, I was wondering why there were so many cultivators on the Abyss Island. I almost forgot about the Demon Island. Seeing that Zhu Xiaofeng knew about the Demon Island, the black-robed man continued, many core disciples of the 10 great sects have come to the Abyss Island. There are also many people who don't have a demon token. These people are either taking advantage of this gathering to sell some good things or trying their luck at the auction house. It is said that nearly 10 demon tokens were sold at the last auction. Many of the cultivators who won the demon tokens successfully entered the core formation stage after entering the Demon Island. Zhu Xiaofeng said thoughtfully, it seems that the small sect you mentioned wants to use the demon token in exchange for the sublease of the large shop? The black-robed man continued, yes, but this small sect also knows that the demon token is rare, so they promise that in addition to the sublease fee, they will also add 200,000 spirit stones as a reward. Generally speaking, the sublease fee is half of 100 years' rent, which is equivalent to 350,000 spirit stones for a demon token. This price seems to be the lowest price a demon token has ever been auctioned. Zhu Xiaofeng was silent for a while. He lowered his head to look at the sand table and asked, which shop is his? Show me. When the black-robed man heard this, he was shocked. In his opinion, the fact that this cultivator did not turn around and leave meant that he was extremely interested. Perhaps he even had a fiend demon token. Therefore, he pointed at the sand table and said, fellow Taoist Zhu, their shop is not far from the entrance of Abyss Island. It's right here. You can say that it's a prime location. This small sect has some skill in refining artifacts, so their business is quite good. Sadly, they are far too weak. Even today, they have no completion-leveled cultivators. This means they cannot make any treasures and sell them. Therefore, they want to seize this opportunity on Demon Island so that the only Foundation establishment cultivator in their sect can enter the completion level. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the location the black-robed man pointed at and was very satisfied. He asked again, has the demon token been auctioned recently? After all, the black-robed man was a deacon of the Abyss Pavilion. He was well informed and replied, in 5 days, the Abyss Auction House will hold a large-scale auction. According to my information, the first batch of demon tokens will be auctioned. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded in satisfaction and said, you can inform this small sect and have them prepare to transfer their shop. In 6 days I will come again. At that time we will trade at your place. The black-robed man suddenly understood something. He said in disbelief, fellow Taoist, are you planning to bid for the demon token in exchange for this shop? The demon token can create a core formation stage cultivator. Zhu Xiaofeng said disdainfully, that's only for Foundation establishment level cultivators with low aptitudes. For truly talented cultivators, the completion level doesn't need to be so troublesome. Then Zhu Xiaofeng walked out with Lu Kuan and said, I will be here on time in 6 days. The demon token is nothing. The mission given to me by the sect is much more important. The black-robed man faintly heard the last sentence from Zhu Xiaofeng's mouth. His expression was blank, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. He faintly thought of a possibility. Could it be that fellow Taoist Zhu has the legendary heavenly spiritual root? Rumor has it that the heavenly spiritual root doesn't need any bottleneck to enter the completion level. That must be it. Only such a cultivator wouldn't care about the demon token. I have to hurry and inform this small sect. The information between the two sides is not equal. I am in the middle and can definitely make a fortune. This small sect has been selling magic tools for so many years, they shouldn't be lacking in money. As if he could see countless spirit stones falling into his pocket, the black-robed man's eyes lit up and he walked out. At this moment, not far away, Lu Kuan saw that the black-robed man had left and formed a soundproof barrier around them. He said with some admiration, "Senior Marshal Brother Zhu, this move of yours is still the best. Although I have the demon token, if we let others know so easily, they will definitely be suspicious of our origins. They might even investigate our origins. Now that we are the ones bidding for the demon token and even using it to exchange for the shop, he will think that our sect doesn't care about something like the demon token. Then he will definitely think that our sect is very powerful and has many core formation cultivators. Also, Senior Marshal Brother's last sentence will make him believe it without a doubt." Zhu Xiaofeng laughed and said, "This is just to deceive people. However, to make him truly believe it, we will have to bring the demon token over in a few days. When the time comes, the person who bid for the demon token will definitely hide his identity. Therefore, when we bring out the demon token, Moreover, that guy just left in a hurry. He probably went to find that small sect to make some money. He got some benefits and was also intimidated by us. In the future, he will be able to save a lot of trouble for our shop." Lu Kuan revealed a slight smile and said, "That's right. Senior Marshal Brother Zhu, I will bring Senior Marshal Brother Qin and the others over in the next few days. After using one demon token, the remaining spirit stones will be enough for us to live in the Immortals' Cave in the third ring. And my disciples can also live in the backyard of the shop." Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and said, "Junior Marshal Brother Qin and the others will definitely come. We will definitely go to the auction." Lu Kuan asked doubtfully, "Senior Marshal Brothers, are you going to buy something?" Zhu Xiaofeng didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "Junior Marshal Brother entered the Demon Island this time to kill that person. It was indeed very dangerous. We are the last foundation establishment cultivators of the Yang clan. And Junior Marshal Brother is our biggest hope. We absolutely can't let him get hurt. Junior Marshal Brother Qin may have forgotten to tell Junior Marshal Brother Lu that he has been studying his own Wind Shadow spell and the Shangqing lightning controlling spell of the Shangqing school along the way. In addition to his progress in the art of refining, he has found a way to improve the set of magic tools of the Shangqing lightning controlling spell. He said that he might need some heavenly materials and earthly treasures. He needs to discuss the details with Junior Marshal Brother. Originally, we were a bit short on spirit stones. Now that we have the demon token, we have some surplus. We can go to the auction to try our luck." Lu Kuan said in disbelief, "Heavenly materials and earthly treasures? Could it be that Senior Marshal Brother Qin wants to refine a fake magic weapon with me?" Chapter 330. In the following time, Zhu Xiaofeng continued to investigate the situation in the circular market of the Abyss Island. Zhu Xiaofeng would use his specialty to deal with the major merchants. After all, if they wanted to do business in this place, they must first understand their peers who were refining tools. Although Zhu Xiaofeng was not in the refining peak, his refining skills were broad and profound. The disciples of other peaks were slightly involved, but they were not as specialized as the disciples of the refining peak. Therefore, Zhu Xiaofeng could see the refining level of the shops here. In addition to competitors, other shops also had to be understood. There was no conflict of interest, but there might be a cooperative relationship. Just the purchase of refining materials would be their major cost in the future. As for Lu Kuan, he listened to Zhu Xiaofeng and left the Abyss Island. He went back to find Qin Yushu and brought them back to the Abyss Island as soon as possible. It would take a lot of time to go and return. The coast of the Chu Empire near the sea was a vast plain. The concentration of spirit energy was not comparable to the central area of the Shiyuan state. However, there were 3 sects, including the Red Refining sect, on this plain. There were also the residences of the 10 great sects of the Chu Empire on the coast. From this, it could be seen that the 10 great sects had absolute control over the Abyss Island. Lu Kuan controlled the spirit shuttle and flew all the way. On the coastal plain, he spent a day and came to an inconspicuous mortal city. After using the simplest invisibility technique on himself, Lu Kuan quietly landed outside a courtyard. At this time, the courtyard door flashed, and the courtyard door had been opened. Lu Kuan sensed it with his divine sense, and walked in with a smile. As soon as Lu Kuan entered, a small yellow figure quickly rushed to his shoulder, making a happy squeak. A junior brother came back alone. Have you already settled the store? The one who spoke was an average-looking woman with abnormally bright eyes. Yes, senior sister Do, if there are no accidents, the shop will be rented in a few days. Then tell me quickly, how many spirit stones have we spent? Do we have enough left? It's a pity that the savings in the sect were robbed by the miraculous gate. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so short of money. When we are strong enough, we must take back the miraculous gate. A few drops of sweat appeared on Lu Kuan's forehead as he muttered, Senior Marshal Brother Zhu is right. Senior Marshal Sister Du has already recovered from the extermination of her sect and the betrayal of her good friend, Lu Huanji. Junior brother, what are you mumbling about? It's nothing. I'm just saying that Senior Brother Zhu has basically settled it. Then tell me quickly. Every time that guy brags to me, I want to see what kind of tricks he has. Junior sister, let Lu Shitty catch his breath. The one who spoke was Lu Xiao, who had just walked out of the room with a smile on his face. Lu Kuan's 5 disciples also came out one after another. Junior brother is a body cultivator. Why would he need to breathe? Du Ruoqiao curled her lips. Lu Kuan shook his head helplessly. He looked around and asked in confusion, Where's Senior Marshal Brother Qin? Lu Xiao explained, 2 days ago, Junior Marshal Brother Qin seemed to have comprehended a cultivation method and went into seclusion. I don't know how long he will cultivate for. Then let me tell you about the Abyssal Island first. Lu Kuan then told the others about the Abyssal Island. Lu Xiao said with some admiration, Senior Marshal Brother Zhu is indeed experienced. He packaged us as the disciples of a powerful sect from outside. Tisk, it's just a small trick. Lu Xiao ignored Du Ruoqiao and said to Lu Kuan, Junior Marshal Brother, you came here to ask us to go together, right? Lu Kuan nodded. Just as he was about to say something, a house in the courtyard suddenly exploded. A green whirlwind rotated in the center of the house, emitting a special magic wave, and rolled up the broken tiles and bricks. Senior Marshal Brother Qin? Lu Kuan could clearly see that in the center of this small whirlwind was his Senior Marshal Brother Qin Yushu. At this time, the small whirlwind outside Qin Yushu's body emitted the aura of wind attribute magic. Lu Kuan looked at this scene with joy. In his senses, Qin Yushu's aura was very similar to Nie Wufeng's when he was still in the foundation establishment stage. Compared to Lu Kuan, Du Ruoqiao and Lu Xiao were more excited. This is the aura of wind attribute magic power. Senior Marshal Brother Nie Wufeng's magic power was wind attribute magic power back then. Soon, the small whirlwind in the house disappeared. Qin Yushu, emitting a faint green light, slowly walked out. Although his magic power was still in the foundation establishment stage, Lu Kuan and the others clearly felt a stronger sense of oppression. Lu Shidi is back. Haha, this time I have to thank you for the body refining lightning seal you talked about last time. Lu Kuan's eyes widened. He glanced at Qin Yushu's dantian and said in disbelief, Senior Marshal Brother, could it be that you condensed the wind seal? Qin Yushu restrained his magic power fluctuations and nodded with a smile on his face. During this time, I have been studying the Shangqing lightning controlling true chant. Coupled with Junior Marshal Brother's experience with the body refining lightning seal, I finally figured out the most crucial point 2 days ago. You have successfully condensed the wind seal in your dantian. The surrounding people all revealed surprised expressions. They all asked how Qin Yushu compared to Nie Wufeng. Qin Yushu recalled and said, Master's wind concealment spirit root's ability is to improve the comprehension of the wind attribute. Right now, I have only perfected the wind shadow spell and finished transforming my magic power. I can barely release wind attribute magic like the wind spirit root. In the past, I relied on the power of magic tools and secret techniques to release the wind blade technique. There is still a big gap between me and Master. Then Qin Yushu revealed a sad expression. He took out a green jade slip and said, But Master was prepared in the past. He recorded all the wind attribute magic he comprehended in this jade slip. I finally didn't disappoint him. I can start learning the magic on it. In addition, I have another harvest. According to the refining method of the Shangqing lightning controlling true chant, I can modify the 5-feather Qiankuan saber so that it can release the power of wind attribute magic power. Lu Kuan then remembered Zhu Xiaofeng's words. He asked, Senior Brother, I heard Senior Brother Zhu say that you want to modify my thunder hammers? Qin Yushu revealed a somewhat worried expression and said, Junior Brother will enter the Demon Island in a year. It will be very dangerous. I have some understanding of modifying this type of strange elemental magic treasure. And Junior Brother, your method of using magic tools is completely different. It needs to be modified into a magic tool suitable for Junior Brother. With Junior Brother's help, we might be able to refine a pseudo-magic tool. Lu Kuan frowned and said, Senior Brother, although I don't need much divine sense to use magic tools, I can't avoid the requirement of magic power. Even if this pseudo-magic tool is refined, in my hands, I'm afraid it won't be able to release much power. Haha, Junior Brother, let's go inside and talk. Then, Qin Yushu said to the others, Senior Brothers, please pack your things and wait for us for a while. I will discuss with Junior Brother and will be out soon. Chapter 331. After entering a room, Qin Yushu reminded him, Junior Marshal Brother, don't you remember that time in the Land of Death, when you and Xiao Jin joined hands and used a few broken talisman nails to block the attack of a low-level core formation cultivator's talisman? Lu Kuan immediately understood Qin Yushu's meaning. He murmured, That's right, just the material of the talisman itself can strengthen my attack. The difference between the material of a talisman and a talisman is like heaven and earth. Qin Yushu continued, There's also that core formation cultivator from the 9 Spectres sect, Wang Shitong. After he returned to the Foundation establishment stage, he still used a talisman. Although the power was greatly reduced, it was still not something that ordinary talismans could withstand. Lu Kuan had used Wang Shitong's broken 9 Spectres claws to attack before, so he quickly figured out the key point. Senior Marshal Brother, you mean to refine my lightning hammers into a pseudo-talisman material, with the internal array used for auxiliary power? This way, I can directly use a pseudo-talisman. As my transcendence energy increases, the power of the auxiliary array will increase? Qin Yushu's eyes lit up and he nodded excitedly. That's right. Junior Marshal Brother's current physical strength is astonishing. The power of the talisman activated by transcendence energy is already weaker than the power of the physical body. Raising the material to a pseudo-talisman level and simplifying the auxiliary array, this is a pseudo-talisman suitable for body cultivators. Lu Kuan also couldn't help but nod. He recalled the scene of Wang Shitong's attack and said, when Wang Shitong attacked, his transcendence energy activated the 9 Spectre's claws, which only increased its sharpness. This point combined with his strength could easily kill a late foundation establishment stage cultivator. Then Lu Kuan took out his lightning hammers and said, Senior Marshal Brother Qin, I've studied this pair of lightning hammers from Zhao Jinhong. It should have been refined by a master refiner from the Shang-Qing sect according to the blueprint in the Shang-Qing lightning controlling true spell. There's a miniature lightning array engraved inside, as well as an array that increases the power of lightning and reduces the requirements of casting spells. Seeing this, Qin Yushu also summoned his 5-feathered universe saber. My 5-feathered universe saber was jointly refined by Master and Marshal Uncle Zhu. The magic array inside was researched by Master. It's a magic array that supports wind attribute magic, allowing me to release wind attribute magic. However, now that I've converted my dermic powers to the wind attribute, I can completely follow Junior Brother's lightning hammer's method and carve a wind seal inside, as well as the strengthening array that Master developed. If that's the case, I might be able to borrow the power of this magic tool to release the wind attribute magic that Master created. Lu Kuan compared the two and said excitedly, I understand now. I am a lightning-type mana and I am also a Rellingan. The lightning strike in this thunderhammer is not of much use. Currently, the most helpful lightning attribute spells are the numbing power of lightning. My main offensive power still depends on my strength. Therefore, as long as I carve a magic array that strengthens the numbing power and adds a magic array that increases strength, I will be able to fully exert my attack power. I can also release lightning-type magic to increase its power. Qin Yushu said with a smile, Junior Brother's lightning hammer is only a top level 3 psychic magic tool. With Junior Brother's dermic powers, there is really no way to use a combined attack. My idea is to combine the 2 lightning hammers into one and refine the material. Because they are a set of magic tools, after refining and combining them, the material will definitely reach the top state of magic tools. Junior Brother's divine sense carving technique must have reached a new height after carving the lightning strike. My divine sense has also reached the late stage of foundation establishment after this breakthrough. With our combined strength, we should be able to carve a pseudo-magic treasure formation. Now, I just lack a lightning-type heavenly treasure that can carry a pseudo-magic treasure formation. Lu Kuan frowned and thought for a while, disagreeing, Senior Brother Qin, since the lightning-type array inside the magic tool has been reduced, why use a lightning-type heavenly treasure? We should use a heavenly treasure that can increase my brute force attack. Qin Yushu immediately understood and said, Junior Brother, you are right. But then the 2 remaining disciples of the weapon refining peak had ugly expressions. They looked at each other and immediately knew where the problem was. Lu Kuan smiled bitterly and said, Senior Brother, in these 2 years, I have familiarized myself with all the weapon refining techniques and psychic puppet refining techniques in the sect, including the many magic treasure refining techniques that Senior Brother Gu Tianjian left us. There is no description of heavenly treasures that can increase my strength. Qin Yushu also thought of this point and said, There are countless materials in the immortal cultivation world, but Junior Brother's body refining technique has never appeared before. It is normal that there are no records of related heavenly treasures. If my inference is correct, this type of heavenly treasure can increase the weight of magic tools. The best way is to be able to withstand a transformation array. According to the amount of dermic powers of the user, it can become bigger or smaller. At the same time, the weight will also change. This way, you can perfectly unleash the power of Junior Brother's physical body. When it becomes smaller, the penetrating power increases, just like our sword array. And when it becomes bigger, the weight increases, using force to break the technique, just like a giant hammer. Lu Kuan immediately thought of a magic tool and said to Qin Yushu, "Senior brother, I remember now. There is such a magic tool. Senior brother, this is the cataclysmic seal that I obtained from a father and son in the late Foundation establishment stage. This magic tool alone can increase its weight according to its size and dermic powers. When combined, its power is even more terrifying. At that time, they underestimated me and only defended, so I used the cataclysmic seal's weight to heavily injure them." Qin Yushu said softly, "I remember this material. It seems to be called thick iron. This material can indeed be added to Junior Brother's lightning hammer, but it has not reached the level of a heavenly treasure. To activate a pseudo-magic treasure formation, you must use a heavenly treasure material." At this time, Lu Kuan's expression dimmed again. It was also at this time that Du Ruoqiao's exasperated voice came from outside, "Xiao Jin, you can use a set of magic tools. This is cheating. No, you are not allowed to use that pair of strange sticks. If you don't use it, you are definitely not my opponent." Lu Kuan slightly probed outside with his divine sense and smiled. It turned out that Du Ruoqiao wanted to test Xiao Jin's combat strength through her. Who knew that the little monkey who had the unparalleled staff had the strength comparable to the late Foundation establishment stage? Du Ruoqiao was only in the middle Foundation establishment stage. Of course, she was not his opponent. Qin Yushu also noticed the situation outside and said with great emotion, "Junior brother, your body cultivation technique seems to be especially suitable for Xiao Jin. With the strength of a second-level demonic beast, you can easily defeat Du Ruoqiao, who is in the middle Foundation establishment stage. Truly amazing." "That's right. A heavenly treasure." Lu Kuan's mind suddenly flashed and he laughed out loud. Then he looked at the little monkey outside the house. Oh no, it should be said that he looked at the two black sticks in the little monkey's hands. These two black sticks were mixed with the strange black stone that Lu Kuan brought out from the central area of the spiritual demon valley. It was this black stone that had long been the unparalleled staff. Lu Kuan suddenly remembered what Xiao Jin had said to him in the past. The central area of the spiritual demon valley had something related to their bloodline. Now combined with Xiao Jin's situation, this black stone was very likely to be that thing. Chapter 332. Xiao Jin, who was fighting with Du Ruoqiao outside, heard Lu Kuan's laughter. It suddenly felt an ominous premonition and subconsciously grasped the matchless rod in its hand. Du Ruoqiao saw the little monkey in a daze and began to nag again. "Hey, Xiao Jin, why don't you put away your weapon? Do you think that without a weapon, you are not my opponent? I am helping you increase your combat experience. No, it is barehanded combat experience. You know, other monsters use their claws as magic weapons. You are now like this, aren't you wasting the monster's own weapon?" Xiao Jin heard Du Ruoqiao's words and shrank its ears. Under its powerful hearing, Du Ruoqiao's voice was more powerful than the magic weapon in her hand. In desperation, Xiao Jin had to put the matchless rod into the storage bag at its waist and rushed forward with its yellowed fist. It used its actions to interrupt Du Ruoqiao's chatter. One person and one beast fought together. Qin Yushu, who was in the room, saw Lu Kuan so excited and immediately asked. Lu Kuan told him the complete experience in the spiritual demon valley, which made Qin Yushu amazed. Qin Yushu told Lu Kuan, in fact, not only the Wei country, but even the nascent soul stage seniors of other countries, and even the late nascent soul stage great cultivators, have come to the spiritual demon valley to investigate. With their powerful divine senses, there was no way to resist that layer of yellow demon fog. But I didn't expect that the strange divine sense attack that these powerful seniors couldn't do anything to could be resisted by Junior Brother's innate ability of the hidden spiritual root. This ability can be said to be much more powerful than my master's. Lu Kuan was stunned. After Qin Yushu said so, he knew that his hidden spiritual root ability was so powerful that it could make this level of divine sense attack useless. He thought to himself, my hidden spirit root has two kinds of divine abilities. The lightning resistance can be slowly strengthened according to my strength, but this divine sense concealment divine ability is already so powerful. If it is strengthened, what will it be like? Qin Yushu continued, according to your description, the black island in the center, especially the stone in the middle, is very likely to be the source of this strange demonic fog. Judging from the way Junior Brother used it, it should be some kind of natural treasure. Fortunately, Junior Brother has the ability to hide your spiritual root. Even if there is something wrong with this stone, it should be fine. Lu Kuan used his divine sense to sense the little monkey who was happily fighting outside. His mind spun as he thought about how to ask Xiao Jin for this pair of unparalleled rod. Ever since he had obtained a few level 3 magical weapon hammers, he had not used the unparalleled rods anymore. The unparalleled rods were all for Xiao Jin to use. While Lu Kuan was thinking, Qin Yushu looked at the flipping sky seal that Lu Kuan put aside and studied it carefully. Suddenly, his expression changed and he said, Junior Brother, the silver dragon flying ship is still with you, right? Lu Kuan came back to his senses and said doubtfully, It is, but when we escaped from the land of death, it was destroyed by the 9 Spectres Sex Core Formation Stage Cultivator. As for how to repair it, I have no idea. But Senior Brother, why did you mention the silver dragon flying ship? Qin Yushu said excitedly, Junior Brother, now you have all the materials for the pseudo-magic treasure. Lu Kuan saw Qin Yushu staring at the flipping sky seal, and his expression changed. He seemed to have understood something and said happily, Could it be that Senior Brother wants to use that to replace it? That's right. This way, the materials for the pseudo-magic treasure for body cultivation are basically complete. In the following time, Qin Yushu and Lu Kuan discussed in the room for an entire day and night. Lu Xiao, who was outside, was secretly anxious and felt that he couldn't make it in time. Qin Yushu and Lu Kuan walked out. Although they looked tired, everyone could feel the excitement between their brows. Junior Brother Qin, Lu Shidi, do you have the confidence to refine a pseudo-magic treasure? Lu Xiao asked excitedly and looked at them with a face full of hope. Qin Yushu said with a smile, That's right. I didn't expect Lu Shidi's refining skills to have improved so much in the past 2 years. Now, as long as the materials are suitable, we should be able to refine a pseudo-magic treasure with our combined efforts. That's great. If 2 junior brothers can refine pseudo-magic treasures, then our shop will definitely stand more firmly. Qin Yushu said, When our cultivation reaches the middle and late stages of the foundation establishment stage, the power of our spiritual senses will greatly improve. We can refine pseudo-magic treasures with single functions by ourselves. As long as we put a few in the shop, I'm sure more foundation establishment stage cultivators will come. Looking at the happy faces of Lu Xiao and Du Ruoqiao, Lu Kuan continued, But we spent so much time only discussing the pseudo-magic treasure at the beginning. Later, we mainly studied our silver dragon flying boat. Du Ruoqiao couldn't help but say, Is the silver dragon flying boat more advanced than the pseudo-magic treasure? 2 junior brothers spent a full day and night? Qin Yushu laughed heartily. Allow us to keep you in suspense. After we take down the shop, junior apprentice brother Lu and I will rush to produce a batch of magic tools in the next 3 months. In the following half a year, we will go into seclusion to refine body cultivation pseudo-magic treasures. When junior brother comes out of the Demon Island, he will definitely break through to the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. his strength will be further improved. Du Ruoqiao said discontentedly, "Why are you keeping me in suspense? Junior brother Qin, come, quietly tell your senior sister what's different about this silver dragon flying boat. Also, junior brother, aren't you a body cultivator? How can you directly break through to the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage after entering the Demon Island?" Lu Xiao looked at the curious Du Ruoqiao and his junior brother, who had a headache. He quickly said, "By the way, you've been discussing for a day and a night. Let's hurry to the Abyss Island. I'm afraid we won't have enough time." Qin Yushu immediately said, "Yes, we won't have enough time. Let's hurry." After saying that, he took out his clear wind boat and called Lu Xiao and the others to board his flying boat. Lu Kuan took out his spirit shuttle. They divided into two groups and quickly flew towards the Abyss Island. In the circular market of the Abyss Island, near the entrance of the market, there was a large shop called Treasure Refining Pavilion. This shop had a total of 3 floors. It was the shop that the deacon of the Abyss Pavilion said was for sale. In the circle of foundation establishment stage cultivators of the Abyss Island, this Treasure Refining Pavilion was quite famous. It was not only because the mystic instruments here were quite exquisite and convenient to use. Another reason was that there was a pseudo-magic treasure here. It was said that it was refined by a foundation establishment blacksmith grandmaster of the Treasure Refining Pavilion. If this blacksmith grandmaster could refine pseudo-magic treasures, how could the other magic treasures be inferior? At this time, there were many cultivators choosing mystic instruments in the Treasure Refining Pavilion. The first floor was filled with ordinary level 1 psychic instruments, as well as some top-grade mystic instruments and flying mystic instruments for the Qi refining stage. The second floor was filled with level 2 and above psychic instruments, as well as various sets of psychic instruments of different powers. On the third floor of the Treasure Refining Pavilion, there were only 3 cultivators sitting in a small hall. Among them, there was a haggard old man sitting in the main seat. This old man's body exuded a faint tyrannical aura. It seemed that he was at the core formation stage. However, looking at his dim and dispirited expression, it seemed that his lifespan was nearing its end. Below him sat a man and a woman. Their aura was not weak. Both of them were at the great circle of foundation establishment stage. The man was tall, bronze-skinned, and had a resolute face. He looked very steady. The aura on his body carried a scorching heat. It was obvious that he cultivated some kind of powerful fire attribute cultivation method. The other woman was tall and slender, almost as tall as the man beside her. She had a sweet appearance and her entire body exuded a fresh aura. Any cultivator familiar with the wood attribute would know that this woman's cultivation technique specialized in the wood attribute. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.